were relative. Alright, go
What's
ahead.
up, everybody? This is the poker coaching study session. Today we're gonna be looking at a couple, we're gonna start with the Henry.
Alright, so this is a hand from yesterday at the Venom. We're relative to 2650 buy-in PKO style tournament. We're relatively deep. I think this is a day one. We have 4 levels left of, gameplay. Average chip stack, just to kind of give you an idea right now is about 90 big blinds. So we're on the shorter side of things. And, to kind of set the stage for this hand, our friend Lady Mercedes here was just coolered by, the one and only Ramsey Bolton. Um. Lady Mercedes has, one of the largest bounties in the game. It's over $2,000 at this point that you would collect, which makes it actually like $4,000 or so on their head. Um. Set the scene, Coach J-Ren's here. Um, he has been very, very active. He's got all the chips. He's fearless. He's out to commit some war crimes and, collect some money. So we assume, just from playing with this guy and the scenario at hand, J-Ren's covering the table is gonna be opening very wide. I wouldn't say quite any two, but he's very wide. Um, Lady Mercedes, I don't think is absolutely tilted out of their seat because they did fold a hand before this. So I don't think this is quite any two, but the fact that they're about to get hit by the blinds. Um, this is gonna be fairly wide as well. Um, at this point, I had made the decision that I am doing more than well enough against Coach J-Rens here to put my chips in the middle. Um. But we have this scenario now, okay? So, Marlboro Man is on bullet number 3, if I remember correctly. Um, they're kind of gambly. I think this game is well within their stakes. And, they actually set out an orbit or two. So, I mean, I don't know how seriously they're even taking this tournament at this point, but they jam. That's kind of my read on the situation. So kinda wanted to get some feedback. Where do you guys generally think in terms of this hand right now? Anybody have anything?
I just don't think ace 10 off stands up too well here a lot of
Right.
the time.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. That's my knee jerk reaction as well. It seems kind of like a bit wide spot. Now,
Best case scenario is we're in a flip, right?
Barry,
And
what do
yeah.
you
it's not going to
think?
be a very
What do you think Marlboro Man, jams were? Like, it's gonna
he
be,
could be yeah, he
It's
could be
gonna-
jamming quite wide, but
do you
less
think
than
he
ace 10.
jams, all aces?
All pair.
I don't think he jams all aces.
You don't think he
Joe.
jams
That's the
every
problem.
aces?
Joe, you
I
have
don't
some,
think he jams them all.
you have some experience in like similar stakes that I play, I know, and quite a bit of experience in PKOs. What do you think of this spot? What do you think Marlboro Man is isolating here with? Being
Me-
covered by,
Me, I don't think about his end. I think more about my end. What is your bottom calling range there? It's more like this because you can jam like a very wide range, like all ace 4 suited, ace 5 suited, all ace 10 plus, ace 9 suited. You can jam king queen suited, all pair.
yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat.
But me, I
I
fold ace 10 there.
fold ace 10.
Yeah.
I ended up going with it. I
I'm always
knew,
calling here. I play a lot of PKOs recently. I would always rumble because in my mind, the button here jams super light.
Ah,
And
yeah,
even if
for sure.
if we lose the first flip, we're gonna double up to the other guy.
Me, I just don't call there because the guy under the gun gonna call so often for all the bounty.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
calling for everything, 100%. I'm entering this pot knowing that J-Rens is wide and I know J-Rens is calling wide. I don't think I'm ever not running my equity here versus him. My thought in the time was, it's really, Marlboro Man is kind of
Yes.
the wild card here. His range is the one that's really the influencing factor for my decision here.
To be honest, I put him on middle pair.
Right, and if he does have a middle pair. And we are even money against Coach J-Rens,
It's a
and we
call.
got a, yeah, we got a puncher's shot against Lady Mercedes here. And the fact of if we win this hand, we triple up then some and basically free roll the tournament off of this bounty. I thought it was close, so we spent a little time this morning running this spot.
For sure, it's a
little-
close one.
Don't show it yet. No, it's okay. show
Sorry,
it.
but, anyways, so Ken
I
ended up
think I know what it
running
is. I have a premonition, kind of like flashed into my head.
the-
What did he show?
So Ken
What
ran
did
it, what's that?
What did he show?
Ace queen suited.
They all had monsters.
Yes. Yeah, everyone's got an ace. He had the button, yeah, here, I'll just show it again.
The bottom got ace queen suited.
Yeah. Flops, about
that's
as good as
why
it gets.
That's why I fold there. Like me, to be honest, I call there with a ace jack suited. I call. It's like the bottom of my range. Like there, ace jack of suit, I fold. Ace queens of suit, I call.
I'm always calling with ace ten off here.
Yeah, it's close. It's close. The read on the situation with J-Rens was correct. Like, he ends up calling off as he probably should, even though these middling offsuit aces absolutely perform like trash in multi-way pots. Like, this is,
But in the bounty, I'm pretty sure maybe it's a call for him in the bounty
I would think so, but,
because he
Ken-
hunt for all the bounty.
yeah, I mean, I've got $1,200 on my head. Mercedes has got a min bounty.
And the
And
other guy,
then, and this is a big bounty, so
Yeah.
this is like over 2K. So I mean, it's very, very large. If he somehow hits this hand, he's,
he is in very good spot to hunt
Mhm.
more after.
yeah. So we spent a little time this morning running it, with Ken's, if you wanna kinda share our findings, Ken.
Me, I can go in my program and tell and check too, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure it's a close spot.
Mr.
Yeah, it
Keppel,
I'm. What you said, Louis, that you rumble here. I could be wrong, but I never rumble here with ace
I
ten.
knew you'd say that, Barry.
Yeah, but I say
I
the
would
same than
never
you.
rumble here.
I
I
say the
would
same than
never
you.
rumble here.
I know it's GPV, Barry. You're
To be
too tight
honest,
on GPV.
to be honest, if the button fold, I jam the ace ten, but
Always, always.
yeah, but if the button jam like this, it's like the best case scenario you got is you flipping or you behind.
Yeah, that's the two scenarios. That's why I think it becomes an easy fold in this scenario.
So like, I know
Right.
there's a bunch of bounties here, but when I look at J-Rens, I mean, with 3 people in the pot already, is ace 7, even with the bounties, a smart call? I know he's got a lot of chips.
Yeah, because it's
So-
like a 5 bounty.
Right, yeah, so J-Rens has absolutely zero risk of going broke here. If he loses the hand, he still is well above average chip stack. But if he wins the hand, he's chip leader by a mile.
And
in
he
the
got like
tournament.
6K in bounty.
And he's got like 6K in bounties. You only need, I think, I mean, this is like just shooting from the hip here. You probably only need, I don't know, 10%.
9-8.
9, yeah, you need like 10% equity to make this call.
9-8
Like-
of suit I call there with his stack.
9, 8, you should be calling, and I think like actually to your point, Joe, I think the middling cards actually become more valuable, like your
Yep.
9, 8 suited, your pocket fives. I think those become even a clearer call just because of the blocker effects. You have to, like, it's kinda like in PLO where it's like a middling wrap has a lot of value in multi-way pots because the removal effects of all the high cards. If, you know, player A gets in, player B jams, player C calls, you can assume that they're gonna have some of their outs.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
something for you to think of when you have the ace 10 and you have that spot that some of your aces might be busy.
Right, well, it's the same thing, Peter, right? And that's kind of why I was, very on the fence with this spot. You know, I'm, not. Pre-flop, we're not doing very well against Marlboro, man, but,
No.
J-Rens and Mercedes, we should be doing quite well against.
And the
Um,
guy with 4 big blind, ace king suited, that's his 6.
Yeah, that's a, yeah, pretty sick spot to, wake up with that hand. Unfortunate, Mr. Marlboro, man, just runs like a god here.
Imagine the 10 of spade.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
was
was saying,
rooting for
yeah.
the 10 on the river.
Yeah, we had a little sweat when the king paired on the turn. I mean, a queen would have been good, a 10 of spades would have been not so good.
That would be sick. Okay, I'll be right back. I go breakfast.
Alright. Ken, you
Go.
around?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, share the results if you want, just from this hand that we were kinda looking at.
It's easy to get a solution to this then, multi-way.
You gotta give up the,
Oh, sorry, let me, stop sharing so Ken can share. As far as the solution goes, if you kind of trim down the tree, to kind of, with a few assumptions to the actual scenario, it's not too terribly bad.
what do you wanna see, LP?
I would like to see the under the gun range, but the modified one.
We modified them all. We fucked around with this. I just kept inputting what you guys told me and I don't have it unmodified.
Show us first how under the gun can open.
These are all
I
modified
think you
range.
should. Yeah, I don't think you should be opening ace-7 off. But then he's chipped up.
So you only have a sim that where EP opens any two?
EP opens any two, right? Oh, no. Well, I can unlock them, right?
Yeah, you can unlock these scenarios. We were just playing with the ranges to kind of min-max to see how everything was being
Did you?
affected.
Did you rerun?
I can redo it now. Don't think it'll take long. I don't think it'll take long because we already kind of ran it down.
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long.
I'm gonna lose my audio now because I have too much going on. This is very intensive, resource intensive.
Yeah.
Anyone do any good over the weekend?
It wasn't a bad weekend.
I had a pretty good week.
Yeah,
Pretty good weekend as well.
same here.
Pretty bad weekend for me. Just
Yeah,
like
and
in
pretty
Speed
good week.
Racer.
Yeah,
the
the
speed
short
racer.
stack ninja.
Yeah, it's easy this game.
Yeah, Louis almost had a big one. He got pretty close.
Yeah,
Like 3 times.
What was it? The
Yeah.
300 marathon? You made it to final 3 tables or so?
last
Final
20.
Yes. And I got another deep run too.
I got a couple.
I
Global
made
deep
it.
run.
Yeah.
105, special, I did pretty well in. I got final 4 tables or so.
Me, I lose like a top 5 stack in the 200 bounty in the money.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Ace queen, 9 versus ace queen. For
Alright.
fucking you, spot.
So, what do we have here? This is the HRC outputs.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
so-
set it up with one payout for first place only. And then
Right.
we doubled the bounties, whatever, however that pads
bit-
told you to set it up, I guess we set it up.
Yeah, the bit B method.
Bit B.
So, yeah, this seems like a pretty reasonable opening range for J Rens.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I think you think
Any
it's
ace?
good
Are we
people
saying any
open
ace?
king
Is
deuce suited over
We
there.
had to force him to jam, because HRC wants him honestly just to just about call the open for whatever
Really?
reason.
Yeah, HRC was wanting to just call 2 big blinds out of the 4 big blind stack with a lot of the range, so we just locked it to a jamming range. Which, it was kind of strange, but, this looks reasonable, okay? You got 4 big blinds. You're under the gun +1. Yeah, you're probably gonna be going with something similar to this, if not wider.
Oh, the under the gun guy.
And again, button, we
He
only
was
put in
short.
a jamming range only.
Right, so, yeah, this is actually, this is a bit different than what we were just looking at a second ago, but this is pretty wide here.
It is different. I wonder why it's
This,
different.
I'm not sure.
Well, we fucked with all the ranges, so like, I don't know why it's doing this now. It converged, so
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so this is, I didn't think it was gonna be that wide, but I thought it was gonna be like similar to, it's gonna be somewhere between the matrix you guys showed me this morning and this one.
right, so the button should be
but really it's just
attacking,
like the purple stuff, the deep purple.
right, I think that's pretty close to what it was. So the button, I mean, should be attacking pretty wide for this bounty is kind of the story here. J Rens is gonna be opening very wide, 4 big blinds. You're gonna be doing quite well against that to jam your 56 big blinds in. And then where it gets kind of interesting is we look at my game true or my decision node here. So after they jam, the small blind is actually still continuing with 21% of the range.
Now it's 31.
Oh, wow. So yeah, this is even wider than, what we were looking at. Before it was mixing at ace 9 off and it made ace 10 off a call.
So like
But,
ace nine is within the 10%. These
Yeah.
are outside
Just
of it.
checked it, but it wasn't done.
So it just kind of shows like how
Yeah.
impactful bounties are compared to like your conventional idea.
And
Of what, like-
I'm noticing it captures twice as much as 10% of aces.
Turned it up to 150. Because it looked a little bit less. Yeah, but it wasn't a lot
10% of
less.
aces is 0.65 and this captures more than double that.
Almost double.
Right, which is pretty surprising, cuz like, if you think about it from like just a freeze out chippy V scenario with no bounties, it seems kind of mad throwing ace 10 into
In
the mix here.
Yeah, right?
But, it just goes to show how, when half of the prize pool is essentially on players' heads. And there's a lot of money at stake in that individual decision tree, how drastically it can kind of, change what you should be doing. So like last night in the moment, I was really on the fence and I felt kind of bad after the call. I mean, it's sort of resorts oriented, but after looking at this,
I honestly think you played it perfectly, but you
Yeah.
know,
So what, just remind me, what site and what stake was this?
this is a 26 50 tournament. $2,650. It's on ACR.
All right, thanks.
So the bounty that was on the individual's head was over $2,000.
Yeah. So
My
I am
current-
noticing it doesn't look like this range I'm looking at now, is this the big stacks range for,
This is my calling range.
this is
from-
your calling range, okay.
So this is a 4-bet calling range you're looking at essentially.
Yeah, it gets real wide, you're right.
You called there and you said that was on the day one, like 4 level left.
Yeah, so each
that's
level's
another
20
thing,
minutes.
right?
Yeah.
I have a good question for you. Like in day two, are you in the money or you need to play in day two to be in the money?
So, yeah, I thought about that too, Joe. Day 2, about 90% of the field get paid. So it's one of those
Oh,
things.
okay.
after an hour of play or so, the money bubble pops,
Yeah.
usually.
But you need to play 1 hour in the day too.
Right, yeah, it's not just, you're not just there. It's similar to how the global millions works on, GG.
Because to be honest with you, I call there with ace ten if I'm in the money. I gamble there.
Right,
In the money, I gamble, but not in the money. For sure, in the big buy-in like this, I'm a little more conservator.
same. Well, yeah, same, usually.
Yeah.
Um,
I understand your point, to be honest. With the ace ten,
well, and then, yeah, and the other thing that I was really taking into consideration here is, um. The fact that I was less than half of what the average stack was here, like I had a starting stack and like a third. I didn't really have a ton of chips at this point. Winning this pot would have put me, a little above average, I think. Yeah, it would have put me well above average, like average and a half. But it would have just put me in a situation where I could have been competitive to make a deep run, win the tournament, etc.
yeah,
As
the guy,
opposed,
the guy who jammed, he was on the bottom.
he was on the button, yeah.
For sure, he don't have a 34% jamming range there. I'm pretty
I
sure.
thought, I thought he would. But
He don't-
34 maybe not, but I
He
thought,
don't jam a 9-8 suited there, for sure.
Well,
but
that's
I
fair.
thought the smallest, like, do you jam 10-9 suited if you're the button?
No. With
So
four
let's,
people to talk.
10-8 suited's really not jamming. Oh, that's small blind.
So yeah, let's look at, the button range and let's edit this and make it tighter. So like, maybe
Suited
tighten it up.
nine.
Yeah, maybe up to suited nines.
The King
like,
five,
keep-
that's good.
Yeah,
Keep
king-
what's in green, keep what's in
King,
green.
king 5 is good.
Remove that.
Yeah,
Suited eights you can remove.
the 9-0, jack 9-0.
Remove them. It's fine.
Yeah, all this junk.
You wanna call with 10-8 suited, Ken? It's not,
I think we can take 10-8 off.
Yeah.
We can take that
I-
off. This is probably close.
I would take jack
Queen
10
eight,
off, queen 10 off
Queen
as
10,
well.
Queen 8 suited off too.
You could probably even take like, well, I don't know, ace deuce, ace three off. I don't know.
So, in
For
my
sure.
mind, that was exactly the buttons jamming range.
Yeah,
But-
Okay,
this is like the bottom jamming range for me too.
Or at least if I was the button, this is what I would jam.
So let's see how much closer this makes our scenario.
Yeah, and to be honest, the Queen 8, it's a mix. Queen 8, jack, Queen 8 suit, jack 9 suit, the 10-9 suit, it's a mix of jam or fold.
Mm-hmm.
Depend
Yeah,
on
like the
your
problem is, like, you're gonna get looked up all the time by that big stack.
Oh, always, Peter,
Right,
always.
so,
Like this
like-
is, you have to, be willing to gamble.
Exactly.
I'm never finding myself in that pot with queen 8 suited.
With Queen 8 suited,
See,
It's a
queen eight
mix.
suited, it's got a queen eight suited versus J-Rens. Like, let's say you're the button, you jam, everyone folds, J-Rens is calling 100%. If just isolated your hand versus J-Rens, you're gonna have a hard time showing up with less than 30% equity here.
For sure,
A
I'm gonna
hard-
have less than that, but there's some risk premium about getting busted here when you have 50 bigs.
Well, that's very true. That's very true too. I mean, there's a consideration there.
Because I mean,
The tournament's slow, it's very deep. You're gonna have opportunities to play in profitable scenarios, so you don't necessarily have to take these big gambly spots,
yeah,
even though.
this is what my range would look like, right? Ace 8, king 9 suited, ace deuce,
Mhm.
probably pocket fives.
me, it's
So-
like all 8 suited, all broadway suited. And to be honest, me, I don't know if I jam Queen Jack off suit. Because
Queen
when,
Jack, yeah.
Not good.
because when you get called, you just
You're
get
making-
destroyed.
You're making $3, so it's not good, right? These aren't
Right.
good.
To be honest, me,
So-
I jam the Broadway suited and all ace suited and all pair. I jam deuce there. The solver
the-
don't jam deuce, but
Some money.
So the interesting part about this is, even when we edit the small blinds range. Even when I'm sorry, when we edit the buttons range to how we did, I mean, we shaved off a little bit. We could shave it off even more. Ace 10 off
Doesn't matter.
is still in there by a good margin.
Yeah,
Bit right out of that.
still a clear
Wh-
call.
Which is pretty interesting, I thought, you know, like I thought I was on the, like, the mesh equilibrium in my head had ace jack off calling and like maybe mixing ace ten.
Just go. What's one left?
Alright, so should we move on?
Yeah, I
Sure,
just thought
sure.
it would have been, interesting
It was.
to kind of go through this. We can, proceed
Ken?
to whatever we wanna do
Yeah.
today.
I sent you two hands that I would like to look at. Start with the second one. Start with the ace queen. This is the pocket eight. So I'm gonna show it first.
Are these PKO hands too, Louis?
Yes. No, this is not a PKO. So this is with 20 players left. And where is it? Where is it? 20 players left in this one here.
I remember this hand.
So. 300 Sunday marathon. We've been playing for 9 hours at this point. A good game, 20 players left. There's massive money up top. So my opponent has been gambling. He's been playing with this guy a lot. He just lost most of his stack. He had 40 big blinds. He win and he lose. He plays the roller coaster poker up and down. So he opens for 2 big blinds. And I have a big stack here. I think I'm at this point, I was like top 3 or top 5 in the tournament, something like that.
Mhm.
Everybody's pretty short and I'm on one of the big stacks. So what do you guys like to do here pre-flop, first off?
Well, I'm three betting this pretty frequently. I mean, I'm always three betting this.
Yeah, out of position, everything, yeah.
Is this ever just a call?
What do you know got the 40, what do you know about the 46 blinds behind you?
I don't think he's gonna get involved. If I do anything, he's a good player. All the remaining players are like poker millionaires, they're like high rollers. They got lots of hardware, bracelets, rings, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like the only like, I don't know, I'm like the only lower level player left, if you want. And then, I don't think anybody's wants to get out of line, and there's lots of short stack, only 20 players left. So, anyway,
A lot of ICM.
yeah,
It's getting there.
definitely.
Yeah, it's getting there.
So he opens 2 big blind. I make it 7. He folds, he stuffs, and I think my plan was to 3-bet and call off the jam. That was my idea. I was gonna just, I thought about ripping in his face. But if this guy called my rip, it was gonna be a very big ICM punt. So I 3-bet, and if this guy folds, I'm never folding. But I'm not sure if it's a great plan.
Yep, me, I got the same plan than you. I
Yeah.
got the same plan than you.
Yeah, but
I-
thing is, I got scammed. He had ace king.
I don't
And-
even hate jamming here, to be honest, some portion of the time. I think with ICM implications, you're probably better off, not all in and folding to a big blind jam and calling off the cutoff.
Yeah.
I think you
Exactly.
played it fine. You're just kinda stuck. Like,
Yeah,
he's got 15 bigs, wakes up with ace, king in the cutoff.
well,
Like,
if I just call here, maybe I can dodge because I get this kind of flop. I mean,
You can't really call with ace queen on the small blind there.
yeah. that's
well,
a-
you're also opening up you're opening up a nasty part of the game tree here. You kinda cap yourself when you do that. So the big blind, if he's not asleep at the wheel and he's a good player, he's gonna attack that.
Yeah, I mean, aren't you asking for a squeeze from the big blind when you do that flat?
You really are. And then like, I don't
Well,
know
if
if
he's-
he, if,
I don't know, but if he squeezed, I'm just like getting off the way for 2 big blinds, you know?
well, sure.
Because if he squeeze, you just fold there.
Yeah. And then if he squeezes just because he wants to gamble with him and then it's their trouble and I can keep my big stack because here the chips that I have are worth more than the one I stand to gain.
Hmm. Yeah, they
So,
are.
I think maybe I don't know. I wanna see the software.
Do you have a ICM program to check this?
Oh, it's running already, I think.
I'm having trouble setting it up. I don't know why it's forced. I can't make it only raise to 7.
Share the screen. We'll try to help you.
So in that spot, are you three betting ace jack and ace 10 as well?
I think the bottom is ace queen there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I think ace, jack and ace ten make up towards the top of your calling range.
Exactly. When you call with the ace jack or ace 10, it's to, I think it's to dominate like the other end. If you three bet, you're gonna fold,
Now, what's interesting to that is like,
I think.
I've got some pre-flop, I mean, we got pre-flop academy. I could maybe look at like a final table scenario that's gonna be similar.
Yeah,
And I know that it kind of pushes like ace ten and ace jack into more three betty branches of the tree. It's just because of the blocker effect. The problem is, I don't think you wanna be doing that versus a guy with only 16 big blinds, because if you three bet those hands, I just don't think you have a three bet fold range really. Versus 16 big blinds if you're three betting to 7, you know? Maybe if you're doing like these little micro three bets.
Well, out of position, you have to go to minimum of 6.5, right?
6.5 would be like, yeah, I mean, if you're scaling down to like what you're playing against, I think 6.5 would be. 6.5 would probably be good.
Yeah. Because I mean, maybe can get away from 16, 6.5, 10 more. I don't know that you can, but it's easier to get out of the way of the big blind shoves.
So, just leave that up for a second, Louis, and I'm gonna try to find something that's similar.
I don't think you can get away from that scenario there, Louis, whatever you did.
see
Yeah,
Barry,
You know, the
this
guy's
is,
got
this is ICM and at ICM, you're not tight enough.
Yeah, but ace
yeah, but
queen
you've
is-
got the guy easily covered there. He's in the cutoff. He's gonna have a quite a wide range.
You think he opens
you're in-
wide
you-
into
you've got
this
a
10 big
premium.
blind stack and two big stacks that can just chew him out anytime?
What you think
Right.
you played it too loose?
I'm open to looking at the software. I mean, I wanna see, I think it's a good spot to look at.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
is,
ace queen
definitely.
is ever gonna fold here.
Alright, so one scenario I'm looking at, Louis, has
Oh.
an 18 big blind button. A
Mhm.
32 big blind, small blind, and a 48 big blind, big blind. So,
Okay.
the proportions are similar. And what it's having to do, I mean, it's gonna be a little bit wider here, mind you, because it's the button. But when the button opens, it's got you jamming ace, jack offsuit most of the time, ace, queen offsuits jamming, ace,
Wanna show
king
it?
off. Yeah, I'll show it real quick. It's not gonna be perfect, but this is kind of like in the neighborhood. Now, mind you, it's a little bit different. This is higher ICM because it's a final table. But if the button off 18 is opening and you've got 32 here, this is our response. And I mean, their range, they should be opening pretty wide, so
So that's also what I thought. I thought I could shove here very easily.
you could, I mean, that's shoving 32 when you're covered behind also. So not, I mean, it does have a flatting range some, it's very top heavy protected.
Alright, and I see one with an average of 25. Cutoff. It's like button 18, small blind 24, big blind.
This one,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
the first one, 25.
It's gonna be like
So-
the same.
it's gonna be the same, basically the same range, except you're not trapping with those, you don't have the calling range because we're a smidge shorter now. So we're just piling it in. There was another good one that was a little bit deeper that I was curious about. Let me find it again. Let's look at this one from the cutoff. So cut, you're a little more at risk here. Oh, this is versus all in. So small blind versus RFI.
Yeah, there's no way around this, right?
You're stuck pretty much. I mean,
It's
this
set
is
up.
24, this is 24 versus 24 here. So this puts small blind completely at risk and like. You're just kinda stuck.
With 4 short stacks, right? So it's like high ICM spots.
Right, correct. So this is short, short, short. And I mean, you're basically tied for second in chips here and you're putting it on the line with.
A lot
I
of,
mean, it's a little more polar here. Like you got some lows, lows and lows, but the top end is just playing itself.
alright.
Yeah, but it's like 24 big blind jam. It's the
Yeah.
range gonna be like very more wide.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the spot like the last one, you check at the third. Yeah, this one maybe.
This is average of 33. This
Yeah,
is
not-
cut off. We would need to see the button range here.
Yeah,
So this is,
exactly.
yeah, this is 18, 32, 48. Everyone's a little bit deeper. But, we cover these guys, we cover this guy.
Alright, good
Yeah.
enough. There's no way around. Ken, have you run it?
I thought they were doing it. I can't figure it out. I'm having trouble with HRC. I can't, it's not adjusting the 3-bet size. It's stuck.
Do you,
Can you look at the pocket 8 then?
Well,
you want me to,
I don't see
you want me
how
to run,
it change.
you want me to run
was
something
okay.
and
James, you got
HRC,
it.
It was
James?
okay then, Louis, yeah? Saying
Changing
the ace queen is bit, it runs it, yeah?
Yeah, you just gotta run it with, ace queen there, Barry.
Do you have HRC, James?
no, I have ICMizer.
Same difference. You could use IC miser if you have it.
Yeah, I do.
I'm sure if the guy's in earlier position, it changes things. I'm quite sure it does, right? The
Oh, of
fact that he's in the
course.
cutoff.
Yeah, ranges are so wide when you're getting in those later positions. It's just kind of. Yeah, just autopilot at that point.
Can
Not
you
much
look at
can
the
do.
pocket 8 and Ken?
I'll try. I don't think it's gonna help me. I don't think it's gonna change, like, cause there's something fucking up.
King big blind.
I'll reload it again. I keep closing it and trying to
Bottom, butterfly check.
Give us the narration on this pocket 8s, Louis.
So
I
it's the
think this
same
is an open, I
tournament,
think this,
just after ace queen, and we blinded down a little bit. It's the same table.
I think
Uh,
it's an open rip,
you would open jam here?
100%.
Here's the
What-
thing,
Because-
pocket 8, pocket 9, pocket 10 with ICM, they don't really do well. We saw that last week.
What,
Yeah,
what's
but we
the,
are in,
We're blocking the
Quite
bottom
late
of the
position.
range with two
How many
eight,
players are left?
20,
Still 20?
yeah.
I think you got two
What-
viable options here, Louis, personally. I don't mind, I like it a little bit less because somebody's gonna try to ISO you pretty often, limping. Especially if you're not like limping very prevalently. It kind of like, I don't hate a limp here. But I would probably just jam this also, I think.
what's the payout structure on this? LP,
It's about to go crazy on the payouts.
The bottom
I
of your
think
range,
because-
it's 9 there.
Is it nines?
Yes, I can share you my screen, you're gonna see.
So
I
is this a,
cannot share.
Do
is
it.
this just a fold then? Am I too wide here?
But it's like a pretty, you can see, I think.
yeah, I'll have one, mate, yeah, whatever you're having.
I
Oh.
take the hijack 15 big blind.
Yeah.
And the bottom, it's like 8, but 9, it's auto.
Mhm.
I didn't see, Yeah, I guess I missed the part. I didn't realize this was, ICM. You said it's like final something or another?
Final two tables.
Okay.
Last 20 guys. It's just after the ace.
The only
queen.
thing I would say is that we are joint smallest stack, and we are in at the hijack. I would never do this from an earlier position.
Yeah, so here's how it played. I'm in raised,
Oh, you min raise. Nice.
yeah.
I like this.
Min raise
Uh,
looks kinda scary, to be honest.
Yes.
Big
It's
blind
like you got
checks.
ace king.
One big
Yeah,
blind.
it look,
I bet
Yeah, I
one
don't
big
hate-
blind.
I don't hate this either.
I don't like it because I
I
have a
don't- I like
marginal
it.
hand and I cannot withstand pressure.
Well,
The thing is, when I bet one big blind, I
Oh, either.
expect them to play me back a lot. With like, expect them to lose their mind, to try to bluff me out of my one big blind bet.
you can do this when you got the nuts too.
So he raised a 4 big blind. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
I remember this hand. I hate this spot. I'm folding here.
We're above the 6, we have the backdoor flush.
Yeah, but ICM, yeah, that's definitely a continue model for chip EV. But if we're continuing like, if we're, assuming ICM here, I think you're just dead in the water here sometimes.
You just gotta
Yeah.
remember doing this with sets and kings and stuff you're never folding. So like, I think you can do
Well,
a
and,
one bet here.
well, and your other problem here, Louis, is the other challenge that you really have here is if you call this bet, you are signing up to be all in on quite a few different runouts. And
Yeah.
like, if he just has a king here, you've basically already lost the pot on some runouts.
I'm gonna go check on GTO wizard just for fun.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I
See,
do like
like,
the
if,
blind bet, but I'm folding.
But does GTO Wizard have an ICM component to it? I mean, isn't this really the difference between chip EV and ICM?
Well, we're gonna see, to be honest. That's why I want to go check. If I
Yeah, I mean, I
raise
guess
up,
if
I
it's a,
check.
if it's a fold chip EV, it's definitely a chilled ICM, but I don't think.
see, I think it'll continue chip EV. It's, I
I
think it's a
agree,
slam.
but I'm saying if you run it out and it does say fold, then you know that you gotta fold
Right.
it in an ICM.
Yeah,
spot.
it's good logic.
Okay, you got the 14 big blind on the GTO wizard. You got limping range and
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was actually saying, Joe, about the limping. I think it changes a little bit though, when you have a bounty on your head, like they're gonna be incentivized to ISO you more.
This is a bounty.
nope. It's
Ah.
Oh,
it's a freeze out this one.
But you're
300.
Oh,
deep,
is it?
right? You're in an ICM spot, right? This is late.
Oh, okay, so this wasn't a bounty. I forgot that this wasn't a bounty. I do like the limp a little bit more. If it's not a bounty.
Hey, this is sick. Me, I was not thinking about the limping range. Limping range.
Yeah, like, I've seen these ranges a little bit from GTO Wizard and, when you start implementing jamming ranges, GTO Wizard also starts to implement limping ranges. So it's a component I've added to my game recently. I don't use it.
They
I don't
don't
use
limp
it.
eights. They limp
I do
nine.
limp. It's not eights though. Okay. I do some, I guess that's because how it interacts with the floor of the ranges, but, I do a little limping and it's one of those things like,
Oh,
if
this
you're,
is good.
if you're not limping a lot, you kinda get like a hall pass in some of these, just because the first limp's always aces, right? You know, people kind of give you a little more respect if you just limp one hand out of the entire tournament.
Alright, so we can capture against his check raise, we're supposed to stuff it.
Well, you're supposed to stuff at chip E EV.
And with display, we capture more than 10% of the EV of aces. So at chip EV, it's okay. But I don't like this play because I level myself. I thought he would check raise too often for two reasons. One, there's a flush draw, so I think he check raised too much flush draws. Whereas in reality with ICM, he should call with his draws. And then I have the 8 of diamonds, so I can turn a backdoor flush. and sometimes be good. And
Mhm.
that's the reason why I can kind of peel with my pocket eight and try to hit an eight on the later streets. So that's why I
Yeah.
call here.
So I
I do
guess my
think-
question is, when you, when he checked, what were you trying to do with the one blind bet?
Induce. I'm
Induce.
I'm trying to take the pot for very cheap here.
Yeah, of course. Like, I think the dude doesn't have like a lot of wiggle room here. He's only got 14 bigs. So one big blind is gonna be very efficient to a range bet. It's gonna be very synonymous with a range bet small. He's just gonna have a lot of auto folds here that he can't continue with. He doesn't have a lot of chips to get fancy with, right? That was why I would have folded to the three bet. I just don't think he's gonna have a balanced, check, I'm sorry, a balanced check raising range here because of his stack depth. Like, maybe if he was like, the 25, 30 big blind stack, I would continue a little more liberally here.
Yeah, so today looking at it, I think it's an easy fold.
Yeah, I like folding here a lot. Not to mention, like, if he was using kind of like a bluffy range here, like, I don't know, let's say he had 5, 7 of clubs or something. I feel like he would be check raising a smaller size, not this almost 4x deal. He would make it like 2.7 or something.
Yeah,
Let's not forget as well, in these scenarios, you can never rule out that he's not playing aces there with the stack depth.
Well, that's fair too, Barry. That's fair too.
right,
And now you're stuck, right? When you call the flop and you have a turn that basically has infinite, it leaves a lot of his like bluffy check raises don't really get there. He's got two flush draws that you could still be ahead of. Like, I think you're kinda stuck here now.
yeah.
If he
Uh,
had a six, he's got trips now.
Do you check
Yeah.
raise many six on this board, Jack?
Yeah, that's kinda where I'm at. I don't think he has a lot of six. I would be more concerned with the three, maybe.
What about a 10? Or, I mean, I'm sorry, a king. He has a lot of kings, right?
Well, yeah,
has-
James,
He
that's the
has a lot
problem.
of kings.
That's the big problem. He's got a lot of kings that he's check raising.
So, but
He
does
might be
is-
he might be hoping if he sat there with aces that we got the king too.
Well, yeah, that's very plausible. I mean, when you have 15 big blinds, you should be,
Why not
uh,
call him more?
you should be calling quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
top
think
pair
he should be
15
free-
big blinds,
he should-
you're just happy to get it
he's-
in, go broke if you go
He's
broke.
probably never supposed to free bet aces there, is he?
Very low frequency, I would think, if it's that stacked up. I think you just,
When you say, you mean raise, you're talking about raising to the bet? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
I
pre-flop.
think
betting
yeah, he's
pre-flop.
talking
about?
pre-flop. That's what
Sorry,
I think Barry's talking about.
got it, got it.
Right, so when the turn
but is he
pairs,
ever?
we're looking at a zero EV call.
Yeah, you hate life. Like, he's gotta have some like he needs to have 4, 5 of blank. He needs to have, 5 deuce. He needs to have all of these check raises. And if he doesn't have those, it's even less than zero E EV.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's under bluffing this spot.
I would think so too, especially at that stack depth. That's kinda where like I'm at with that.
He's never finding any jack five off. That stuff is gone, man, yeah.
I don't think he
And they-
bluff you.
Right,
So
so
we
you,
talk about a bigger flop bet from you. I mean, it seems to me that if you bet two blinds instead of one, aren't you gonna get a tighter answer from him?
well,
I don't.
yeah, I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
think
Josh,
so.
I don't know how elastic his calling range is at 14, 15 big blinds. Like, I don't know if there's hands he's calling one big blind, that he's not calling two big blinds. You know what I'm saying? When you're at 15,
Same goes
I
for
think-
calls.
I guess I'm trying to stave off not necessarily the call, but the raise.
well, same thing, I wonder, like, if you bet two big blinds off of 15 big blind stack, is that gonna really tailor responses compared to betting one? when you're that short. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
not
do
as
it.
refined.
I do induce a little bit more when I bet one big blind. Right?
Well, we've seen that for sure. There's no doubt about it. I just don't know,
That's fine, because when you're gonna have strong hands you do that with, right? So you just call when you induce and you fold when they could just have it.
Yeah, I
but
guess the
what-
point,
what
I don't
when
know,
I
Louis,
have
if you
this
were,
thing here, you know?
I just don't think in this case you ever want to induce, right? With this exact hand. I mean,
That's
you want
right.
to induce with stronger hands.
Yeah, I agree with you, Josh, because this is a bad spot for it.
I
I
think it's a
can't,
great
I
spot.
can't stand the pressure if he starts to dance. And then there he is, and then I'm like guessing.
So what's your option? Check back?
No, it's a pure bet on the flop.
Well,
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
was
saying
just gonna
bet,
say,
bet a little bit more. I mean,
I
if
think
you bet
ideal-
two,
when
you reduce the inducing.
If you're range betting, I think
was
one
just-
line's ideal, to be honest.
I was just gonna say, Louis, I think the bet's fine because you would do this to induce. When they come over the top there, if you've got the goods, you call. If you don't, you fold.
Right?
Would you say pocket eights is the good, sir?
No.
yeah.
Was-
Okay, like take three
Balance.
hands here. Take a decent king. Take a full flush draw, not a backdoor flush draw, and take this hand. These are three different hands. I mean, can't you treat them differently and like maybe bet one big blind with the first two and then just two big blinds with this one? I mean, can't you use two sizings here?
Josh,
could.
I like it.
I
before
agree with you, Josh. It feels super bad here, honestly.
Before you get into
mind
this,
it.
can you define what you're calling a decent king? I mean, are you calling king
You're
eight
calling
decent?
you're calling every king.
Or,
If you're
I mean,
gonna
are
do
you-
this, if you're gonna do this with ace king and aces here, then I think you should do the same with eights.
I
Yeah,
agree.
Well,
that's kind of what I'm saying. I don't get because I would think I'd want to do it with better hands and worse hands. And this middling hand, I'm going to be more of the larger bet sizing to make sure I don't induce.
Yeah, but it
I don't
doesn't
know what I'm
solve
doing, but
the
that's my
issue.
thinking.
It doesn't solve the issue because if we bet two big blinds, he's gonna raise it anyway.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I'm using a,
On a plastic
oh
bag.
god.
I
Alright,
like it
um,
because
Okay,
you
what
can
I'm
do
sa-
this with the
I
monsters
guess
as
what
well,
I'm
Louis.
what I'm trying to say is I don't know if we have a split betting range at 15 big blinds, or if it really matters at that point. Like, I mean, I guess you could HRC it and see if the big
Always-
blind actually tailors their response compared to 1 to 2. But I just don't think it really matters. Like, I think if he's got all of his king X is calling 2, they're calling 1. Like, I don't know if some of his king X is check raising 2 and not check raising 1. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, I think the response is binary. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, if that's true, then I think this is a better bet. If it's not true, then there's something to it.
I absolutely think.
We're-
it's a better bet.
so I
LP,
should fold here, right?
Are you
Yeah.
betting? Because are you betting your entire range one big blind on
Yes,
the flop?
yes.
You got a
King
king
eye
six
board,
straight.
there's just one key card for the big blind. There's
Yeah.
one key card for in position. This
Oh,
is a
you're
range
drunk.
bet.
Oh, your junk prints when he folds. It's great. I think
Yes.
it's great. I think it's a great size.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect size, LP, honestly. I don't think you fucked up.
I don't think there's
No,
an
I don't.
issue right here on the flop. I don't think there's an
I
issue.
think
I
it was
think,
perfect.
I think you made a mistake calling because when you called, you got ringed in for the rest of your chip stack and you couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah,
So
If you make it bigger on the flop, though, you think he might have just jammed the flop?
Maybe that,
Or
okay,
not.
so I will correct myself. If there is an elastic part of his range, if you make your bet a little bit larger, I think his response will be pushed more towards jamming.
Yeah.
I think the
GTO
larger
but
my
G-
bet is, the more straightforward his response is.
But the
Yeah.
GTO wizard did like your bet as well, Louis, didn't it? On the
Yeah.
flop.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's good.
so I called because I'm a fish.
And I mean, it's exactly what you expect, right? What was it? King of hearts, queen of
Yeah,
hearts?
it's a
or
very
something?
simple hand. It's a very simple hand. But yeah. Left a bad taste in my mouth. If I open rip pre-flop, he calls probably. And
Maybe. Maybe. I think he probably has to because he's closing the action.
Yeah,
I thought
probably,
he would have called there.
probably close for him, right? So. There's stuff for me to get away, but I don't think like the 6 pair is really good for the big blind, right?
And,
I'd like
and
to
Louis,
know
you
if
didn't
GTO
open
Wizard
rip there
says-
because of ICM or why did you choose not to open rip?
Because when I open here, it looks really strong. And then there's a non-zero chance that this guy goes all in, this guy calls and this guy calls and this guy calls. And then I get 4 ladders by folding. So there's many
Wonder-
scenarios. Somebody 3-bet, somebody jams. There's a short stack here against him. It's gonna be most likely I'm gonna play against him, right? So.
If you do jam,
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
if you do jam, I'd like to know whether the GTO response is for him to call. I think he has to call, but I'm just wondering if you did open rip it, Louis. I think he's supposed to call.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be close, but if he says it's a fold, then I'm messed up real bad.
Because Louis is supposed to like jam king jack suited there, king 10 suited. He's jamming worse kings. So the guy's gonna call
Yeah.
in there.
That's what I'm saying. Will GTO Wizard call in the big blind there?
Yeah.
If
It
he
will,
rips it.
It will because Louis' range isn't all jams. Louis has lots of raises here and plays.
Yeah.
Ken, do you have the solution?
I can't get HRC to work. I'm having trouble with
What do you
it.
think his minimum
Okay.
king is to call there then, Peter, in the big blind? Do you think he calls king jack suited?
James, do you have the
No.
solution?
Because king jack
For the ace,
blocks
for the ace queen or the eights?
Ace queen.
Yeah,
king jack
yeah.
blocks what he
I-
wants Louis to be jamming with.
I did.
I do have one more question about this hand.
Yeah,
So GB keeps on saying that, once you call the flop bet, you're kind of committed and I kind of see it. But are you really committed? I mean, when he jams was it the turn of the river? I don't remember.
turn.
I mean, can you just say, fuck it, I lost. I'm out of here. I'm just gonna deal with it.
I could. I think
You
it would
could.
be best. I was on the
Yeah.
top. I was put in the box from the start.
I guess what the thing is, like, if you're folding that turn, it makes the flop call that much more worse. Like you just never call that check raise if you're ever folding that turn, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
so
it's
I have a
also the
question about that. I
diamond,
mean,
if you
this comes
block-
to like
The end-
practical play. I mean, practically, let's say you make that mistake, right? And let's just say so the mistake's been made and now you're at the turn. Do you just say, well, I mean, I can't fold, or do you say, well, I made a mistake, but I'm gonna live again to fight another day?
So the
Yeah, you
question
don't
then
make
becomes,
another one.
the question then becomes, what turn cards are you calling? Because we can assume that villain, the majority of the time is gonna be following through on the turn. Outside of an 8, what turn card are you calling?
Well, and can we also just talk about like the 8 of diamonds is probably particularly bad to have because it's gonna block some bluffs.
No, I disagree. We block value with it.
Maybe
What
maybe the
value
flush
do you block?
We block value and we
block
can
value.
improve equity if we turn a diamond.
Before we move
We do.
on, what are we calling on the turn if we're folding this?
18
Yeah,
of flush
diamond.
draw.
You don't
When
block
we
any
improve
value.
with the diamond.
So you're gonna just call your 1 diamond draws then, like as if your flush draw is the out that you need?
Well, I wanted to say 8s until you said outside of 8s, so I added flush draws.
Yeah, it improves. It improves
So-
your
I think
equity.
Ken's right. I think Ken's right to a point as well, though, Louis, that having the 8 of diamonds is not great because we are actually blocking some of his bluffs.
So let's say he has
So
a
when-
king. Let's say he has a king. And we improve to a diamond and he doesn't have a diamond draw. How much equity do we have that we're calling our tournament life off with? 1 card to come and a flush draw
And 2 8s.
and 2 8s.
Much.
22%.
That's my guess, Peter. That was my guess, 22%, and I think that's about right. So, I mean, do we even with that scenario in mind, do we have the equity to call off the rest of our tournament life there with 22%?
I guess let me answer that question by saying the question I asked was, hey, if you recognize in the moment that you just made a mistake on the flop by calling the check raise, do you follow through or do you just abandon the hand and live again? And so my
And the
answer
mission.
actually is I only continue with an 8. And
Okay.
I just accept them. No, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm here because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's the way I think about it. And I'm curious what people's thoughts are. And again, you
Well,
realized a mistake. This is a practical, like human thing as opposed to the math, because the math is you shouldn't have probably called the check raise on the flop, but you make
well,
that mistake.
yeah, I
I
agree
don't
with
think
you.
it's
So
a mistake. That's the thing.
Oh, I thought you said it, you thought it was, and I don't know, I mean.
Calling the turn is a mistake because
I
it's
think
a
calling the
EV,
check
but
raise.
calling the flop, like with the
man,
flush draw, you could check raise so wide.
I actually think
I-
I
you're,
don't know,
I d-
Louis.
I
He
feel
shouldn't be
different.
check. He shouldn't be check raising his draws there. He should be realizing his equity at the stack depth.
I agree.
If I didn't have a diamond, I consider jamming.
I'm of the opinion at this point, I'm folding the flop to a check raise of that size especially. And if I'm not folding the flop, I'm calling that turn. So I think folding the flop is probably
I agree.
the best, just because of ICM. Like, I mean, if we're playing chip EV mode, the equation changes a little bit. So like, you're, whoever was asking of the, realizing you make a mistake,
That's Josh.
Josh, if you realize you make
Yeah.
a mistake and you're following that thought process, I think you just fold. Now, the important thing there is like, you have to think about it through a certain lens, because if you're making those calls and just folding those turns constantly, you're making you're making some mistakes.
Oh, so I agree with that. I mean, this has to be oh man, that was stupid. And Louis, I'm not saying it was stupid. I'm just saying if I had that reaction, I
Yes,
frequently would say, I'm not gonna, throw good money after bad. I'm
right,
gonna just
right,
I
recognize,
think
I'm not gonna say I'm gonna make those mistakes all the time. But
right,
if I
right. So if you
recognize
look
that I
at it,
regretted it in the moment that I did it instantly, I'm
right, I
not
agree with
gonna.
that, Josh. Yeah, you have to look at this as an isolated incident. If you look at it as an isolated
Yeah.
incident and you're not propagating this branch of the game tree continuously throughout your game, it's fine. Like, is all I was
GB.
kind of saying to that. Yeah,
I think the key thing is in this hand. Key takeaway is the fact that he shouldn't have a lot of draws there.
yeah, no, I agree
The,
with you, Barry.
the other guy.
I agree with you. I think when you're check raising large off 15 big blinds, it's gonna be more
You
value
have it.
heavy. I just don't think he's bluffing here. That's why I'm leaning fold on the
Yeah, and I
flop.
would add to that the existence of a diamond in my hand here makes that even more true, right?
Right,
Because
because
Yeah.
you're blocking combos that you need him to have to capture value with eights.
I'm trying to say.
yeah,
So the other
Heard you,
thing to
Ken.
think
I
about
heard you.
I don't know, Bar.
the other thing to think about it is because you have a lot of jams there too, with 14 bigs, your raising range has the bottom of your range, top of your range. So you're just min raising aces and you're min raising eights, which are kind of towards the bottom of your range. So when you're at the bottom of your range, you can fold that hand a little more easy because you're protected by the aces, which are still just gonna call off there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
plenty of
agree with
kings.
that very much, Peter. I agree with that very much. Like, you need to have a call off here with your aces. Conversely, the bottom needs to be folding, I think.
You're gonna have
Yes.
kings. You're gonna do that with king X too, right? Like, what are you afraid of? An ace to come? I'm gonna do one big blind with my kings as well. That's why I'm not
Yeah.
that worried.
Oh, yeah, 100%, Ken. Like, you're never, when you have this chip stack and you hit a king, you're just not folding.
No, you're
And one
you're
big
winning or
blind
you're
bets, I think, nice. And when they spaz, you're like, all right, let's go.
Interesting hand. I like it.
Hopefully we have the best hand.
Right, this was it's an interesting hand because this is one of those hands that after you play, you're thinking like, how did I lose all of my chips?
Yeah, exactly.
You're thinking, how did we get here? And
Yeah.
you're presented two doors on the flop, Louis. And when you walk through one, you go to the next hand. When you walk through the other, You walk through the other, you lose your chip stack without knowing you lost your chip stack on the flop.
Blue
And
pill
the
and red
consolation
pill.
is you got really good content for this session.
Yeah, yeah, like, you called a check raise that was 3.8 when it actually was all in. You didn't know it yet, but that's what it was. And
Yeah,
It
that
was
very
is,
like the
tough spot.
revolving door. It left him dizzy.
yep, that is the power of raising non-all in right there.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it. You went broke on the flop and you didn't even know.
So James, no matter how we put it, ace queen is always pushing. We looked at pre-flop academy, we looked at HRC a little bit. We looked at now ICMizer. No matter what, I should push it, right? So
Yes.
it's better to push than to three bet small,
Yeah,
and I would have just ran into it. Okay,
I-
so there's no escaping here.
there's a hand that I want to review.
Okay,
And
Do it.
I'm looking for it. Just give me 1 second here. Just take a sec.
And Louis, if you jam there with your ace queen, if the big blind wakes up with a hand, it's just unlucky too, right?
No, it's, for me, I would think it's the biggest ICM punt ever. That's because,
Yeah, but
yeah. But I guess
Yeah,
the big
I
blind
mean-
is not incentivized to call.
there's a couple things
No.
like, okay, you have to make some assumptions about the big blind. If he's ICM aware, I think jamming becomes a bit better. If he's still like calling like hands like, okay, if he's calling hands like pocket tens, jacks. If he's calling hands like ace, queen and things like that, I think the jam becomes much worse, cuz he should be pretty tight there, I think.
yeah, you should.
So if,
Put the plate on the trailer.
so if he's not as tight as he should be, I think jamming's worse. If he's playing appropriately and, kinda knows what's up, I think it becomes a little bit better. I don't know. I think it's kind of like unnecessary, I guess. This is my own bias speaking though. Like I think I over jam in some spots. I kind of overdo it. I'm trying to get better about using my non-all in three bet sizes. Especially like sub 40,
Yeah.
So,
If I jam here, do you think he calls?
oh
think
yeah,
he's
he's calling.
supposed to,
I think he's,
but
actually, I don't know, man. Like, that's close.
I also
I think
don't
he's,
know.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think,
I think it's 100% call. But because he's closing the action with that particular hand,
so where it gets interesting is like a lot of your bluffs come from ace X here and him looking at it, he's flipping with like most of your bluffs, which I think makes the call a little bit worse. But you should be shoving, I guess, some of these middling pairs that he's doing well against. I really don't know if he's supposed to be calling here. I think in
What's his
game, if it's
hand?
me, he's got
Yeah,
king,
but
queen suited.
Pre-flop academy has it folding pre, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. But nine's jammed. So
I had eights
it's
mixing.
whether he's supposed
Nines
to
did
call
not
off or
jam Barry, it was min raising.
I had eights mixing, two big blind or all in.
Oh, was it?
That's what I had.
I think the equities have to run close.
King
Um,
suited, probably.
Does he call if I jam?
Gotta be close.
So I'm just gonna look at 15 Equistack. This is a six max thing. We're gonna put him in the big blind and we're gonna start with you in the low jack. So verse all in, he's folding. Verse low jack, he's folding verse hijack. Folding verse cutoff. Folding verse button. And calling versus small blind. And I think so this is six max, 15 equal stacks. ICM's pretty high. I think that's just because of what the jamming ranges look like. They're very ace X heavy, like I was saying.
Yeah,
So
It's a fold to queen king suited, do you think?
if you're approaching this from a heavy ICM environment, yeah, you're not calling there.
so I would have been much better off ripping.
I think in game, that's how I'm approaching it. I don't know if that's right or wrong.
I normally
Yeah.
rip the middle pairs and raise the big ones. I split my ranges normally.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I don't hate the way you played it, Louis, because you played it like you need this line that
Aces.
you took, you need to have aces playing this way too, like to capture
Yeah.
some EV. And if you don't have hands other than aces playing this way, you're not gonna be able to capture a ton of EV with aces.
No, it's a balanced play you've made, I think. Because you would have done the same with aces, Louis.
Yeah. So that's how it ended. James, are you here?
Yeah,
Can you run the pocket eight?
I
See
just,
if
I sent it to you in Discord.
Oh, okay. So it likes to push, but it's very, very marginal, I see. Alright. So you have a hand to show, James?
Yeah, this was a hand I played against Ken, Ken last night.
Oh, great.
Uh-oh.
And,
Uh-oh.
and it
What
was
have-
it was an interesting hand.
What have you done?
This your queen's hand?
This is a king queen hand.
Oh, so you bluffed.
And,
You told me you had queens.
that must have been a different hand, Ken.
There's an ace on the turn, right? 10 high flop, ace on the turn, 2 diamonds. Yeah, this is the hand. You told me you had queens. I was folding anyway. I had,
maybe-
I had queen 10.
Maybe I thought it was a different hand. Cause I don't think I'd tell you I had something and then lie. Alright, so. What do you do? Do you
Can
see
you-
bet this or what?
I
What
would
do you-
check.
No.
This is high frequency check flop and low frequency bet, I think.
I don't think you bet. You don't
Against
get there
two
against
players.
the fold.
I have queen, I had queen 10
Oh.
of hearts. I went
I
the
didn't
big
even
blind.
see.
I want to narrow the field.
I didn't even see that there was, a multi-way pie. I don't think I'm ever betting this, James.
Yeah,
That's
big
what I'm
blind.
saying.
No.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's a
so
good
that's
check.
what I did. I checked it.
So I like check
Yes.
raising here. Did you check raising?
Why would
I
you
like
check
Ken's
raise?
bet. Ken's bet size is good for a strong hand. He's closing the action. I don't think you ever check back strong value. Like ace 10 here, if you're closing the action.
Queen
So I
10.
think that's good.
If you have
Queen
queen
10,
ten
big.
here, I don't like your sizing at all. I think you should bomb it.
Bigger, you think?
Multi-way.
Because so many cards are gonna kill you, both your action and James' action.
Well, I expect James,
I-
I don't think in reality
did-
he's checking over pairs, but I think he's supposed to check some over pairs, so I didn't wanna make, yeah, like this is ICM too, so we're also, set this up. We're probably 30 from the money.
I think you're leveling yourself. I think I would bet big here almost every time.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
when
it-
we're multi-way, don't we size down
Yeah,
low?
it's
here?
Yeah,
Like,
Peter.
if it
Yeah,
was,
Peter.
if it was heads up, you would bet like 6 here, but when you're multi-way, you go kind of half of that, right?
Now
Yeah,
I'm done.
but
To me, half pot bet's a pretty big size versus 2 people.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. Honestly, I
SPR
don't think you're
super
making a
low.
big. You're not making a big mistake either way. I think like if you're going heavy theoretical, like your bet size is very good. If you're making exploitative adjustments real time, you could go bigger.
Right.
It's tight, but I would fold here every time this queen
I
king.
probably would go bigger.
Now,
I'm always
James,
chucking this queen king away here.
yeah, me too. I think this is too wide, especially considering. Ken's range here should be pretty stout. He's betting into 2
Yeah.
people. The big blind also connects pretty well with this board generally, so.
Plus, he's gonna
Um,
have a lot of queen tens and king tens, so the turn could be the worst possible card you want to see.
maybe if you were suited, like if you had a backdoor flush, I could see continuing here.
Yeah, queen
But,
king get stacked.
I like folding, especially you only have like 20 something big blinds. You're pretty short.
Yeah,
And it's ICM.
Makes it even more of a fold, I think ICM wise. So like you got probably one of the best bluff cards in the deck for your hand, James.
Yep.
And that was my thought. I was gonna check raise this turn here.
Oh, that would be
Check
Uh,
great.
raise
That would-
theoretically is probably not bad.
I think
I
that's
was-
bad.
I-
I'm not bluffing anymore here.
I was gonna check jam.
Like I'm only bluffing like if I have like king, queen of diamonds or something here, maybe I bet I barrel, right? Cause I'm probably not gonna fold.
So after it goes check, check on the turn.
I don't hate a bluff jam here from you, James. Like if you made it here, I don't think this is bad.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
the king of diamonds.
That's good.
Like you've got probably one of your,
I'm super.
I,
calm.
yeah, I don't
These bluff
think,
cards.
yeah, I don't know.
King of diamonds is a great card to have, isn't it?
I don't think you're gonna be showing down a king high winner here. And when you call the turn, when you call the flop. And you start getting like bluff cards with a hand like this, if you're not making these plays. It just makes calling the flop that much worse.
Yep. Well
I
played.
think calling the flop is a lot better when you have this in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like, cuz. If you're making these marginal calls on a flop like that and you get like, I mean, hitting the ace of diamonds right there is like the nuts for you. Like you just turned a set essentially.
I'm never folding an ace though. So I know you mistakenly believed I would fold an ace there. That ain't happening.
Well, the other thing is, Ken, like
I don't have any
you,
aces.
yeah, that's what I was getting at. You're
I
gonna
don't have any.
be, you're gonna be pretty limited on your aces. You're
That's
gonna
why
have
when
some
when he
reach
had
for 'em.
queens, I said, that's terrible with queens because I'm never folding an ace. You're never getting called by a worse hand.
Well, it's unnecessary with queens, right? You can just show
Yeah.
down queens.
Right.
But,
well,
I
I
think
don't think I don't think I don't know that I ever have.
I said to LP, I think he's full of shit because he told me he had queens, but he didn't show me and you showed me your other three hands. So I thought, I think he's full of shit.
Was I thinking, was, but was I think, I don't think I would just tell you I had queens. Was
You
I thinking of
did.
a
I
different
got it in
hand?
the chat.
Oh, I know, but what I'm saying is that maybe I was thinking of a different hand.
I don't know.
So what are we gonna say? Let's say it's 25 effective just for shits and giggles here. And we're gonna say Ken's in the cutoff, you're in the low jack. It's a single raise pot.
Can you share screen?
Yeah, I'll throw it up.
What did you have then, Ken? Six, sevens or
queen-
eights?
I had queen, 10 of hearts.
You gotta let me share.
Yeah.
There it goes. Here, I'll just show this. Alright, you gotta walk me through it, James, just cuz I don't remember. This is not gonna be exact, but this will give us an idea. So whatever the results here, but a little bit tighter because we also have to account for the big blind range. So like. Our assumption was mainly check with some bets. It's betting more than I expected, to be honest. I think that's just the nature of a dry 10 high board
Well,
here,
also
but
because we're heads up in this scenario, he's gonna be
Correct.
betting 40%, I think.
yeah, you're right, Ken. 40% of the range is betting, 60% checking. His hand particularly. Sorry, I'm blind here. So you had the king of diamonds. It's one of the more aggressive. Well, I say that. You had the king of diamonds and what else? James?
Queen of spades.
King of diamonds, queen of spades, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, 70% of the time you're still checking. You check as you should. Ken with any 10x here is going to need to be betting. It's kind of tough here just because you shouldn't be flatting some of these offsuit ones, I think.
Well,
obviously.
yeah, I was supposed to jam, but I thought that he was gonna be opening a pretty, it's ICM, so I thought his range would be tighter opening, so I didn't want to turn it into a bluff. I just tried
Right.
to call and play it in
Which is fine.
position.
So we'll just pretend that we'll look at the queen 10 of hearts since you don't have a backdoor flush draw here. Which is gonna make it more aggressive, right? So
Well,
you're
I
betting
did
more.
have queen 10 of hearts. That was my hand.
Oh, you actually, I thought you had the offsuit one.
No,
Okay,
queen 10 of
perfect,
hearts.
yeah. Yeah, you show up here full frequency. It's a full frequency flat.
Oh, okay.
You chose this 3.3 sizing, which is actually like a 2.1 sizing. Proportionally, because we had the extra chips from the big blind, so you hit the majority frequency. And, obviously James is gonna continue in this scenario, but you can see how it's basically starting to become indifferent, right? So we can pretty well assume that this is gonna become a majority fold when we have the big blind range to contend with.
But it has slivers of raising, which I like.
It does, right? Well, so yeah, like these hands, when they're like indifferent, it's often better to raise them than call with them.
Right.
So it's like some of these ranges prefer like king six suited, for instance. Like,
Well, I'm also bluffing way more heads up than I am multi-way as well.
correct, yeah, you should be.
I'm betting all my backdoor draws, like I'm betting all my draws, all my good
But
hands.
we get to continue here, which is fine. It's gonna be a prominent part of the tree. And then like we get the nuts bluff card here. So it actually wants to donk here some, which is pretty wild. I don't have this in my game really, especially
I would have snap folded.
like, yeah. I mean, it wants to go big. 51% of the time, it's like
Oh,
huge
he
bet.
really did do it.
And I don't know if you're folding, like, let's just see what it does versus a
I am.
raise. So let's say you do this. Oh, it doesn't even have a raise size. It's just calling.
Queen ten's calling?
No, on the ace, I think you probably are.
No way. I'm out.
Let's see what it's doing. I didn't see. Queen ten suit, yeah, I mean, it's not, it's, you actually have enough equity to just put the rest of the chips in at a small frequency.
Did you fold
That's
a
a king of
10 to
diamonds,
James,
okay.
Ken?
I did.
I put a king up
Wow,
there for some reason.
I'd never fold a
ICM,
10
it was
to
on the
James in
bubble,
my
dude.
life.
It's the bubble.
James he's gonna punt ICM, you know
James
it.
got lucky. It's the bubble. He doesn't know what kind of calling station I am.
So let's say Ken comes through with like this medium size. I would not be surprised to see some jamming here. Alright, so that's even pretty aggressive. Like it's calling. I mean, there is some clicky back stuff here, but the majority response is just calling. So let's see if we don't polarize him. Let's say if we do another small bet. Alright, we start seeing more of the behavior I was kind of like thinking about. Where you're jamming. I may overdo this node in my game, like, when I see this. It's kinda like donk boards, right? Like, you recognize the donk board on the flop and sometimes you have to get it out of your head that you don't do it 100% of the time. I'm kinda that way with this part right now. I
So
need
I'm not
to,
betting a lot of aces on the flop, I don't think. So when I bet like that, I'm not sure what I'm representing. Like I'm gonna have
let's look what happens when,
maybe
yeah, when we
like ace
polarize, it's just folding a lot.
two, ace four, ace six, maybe ace jack, maybe. I don't even know, or ace nine, I guess. Ace nine, ace four, ace three, or ace two, I mean. I'm not betting a
let's
lot
go,
of aces on the flop.
let's go to the real node. Check, check. And then what was the river? The 9 of diamonds, if I remember?
Yeah, the 9 of diamonds.
I would be surprised if you're not going bananas here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, bananas. All the chips in majority of these scenarios. For some reason, it doesn't mind the small sizing with a hand like this.
Well, he's
I
got the
think,
diamond. The diamond's gonna rip, right? King of diamond.
yeah, well, see, like the king of diamonds and the spade right here actually prefers this small blocky size. I mean, 20% of the time it's just ripping. But like, if you have the queen of diamonds is just full frequency ripping for whatever reason. It's like
Yeah.
100%. But I mean, it's probably some weird blocker thing. I think simplifying this range, so we can look to compare EV. So versus a jam and a block, jam and a block. Yeah, so it's basically the same, right? So if you wanted to simplify your game to 100% block here or 100% jam, I don't think you're gonna be losing a ton of EV. It becomes a little more significant with the queen for whatever reason. I guess because you're not blocking the stone cold nuts, he can still have you coolered in some spots. Where, it's starting to prefer the jam. Like you gotta generate a little more fold equity just because the king of diamonds is out there still. And you don't wanna get bluff caught.
I'm never folding an ace, right?
So let's just say when you get a jam in the face. Some of your worst aces you are 6, 7, 8,
Not many.
ace jacks indifferent. Like,
Especially against me. I don't think you should
Mias?
ever fold an ace against me.
Well, and to be honest, this is a pretty big bet. This is like 1.5x or something, right?
Yeah,
Oh, it's actually, I
One-
lied. This is 2x.
2/3. He's got less than a pot size bet left in his stack.
no, I had more than a pot. It was like 1.25.
I think you had 19 something, 18, 19. The pot was like 20.
It was
something.
17. It was 17 big blinds.
There's 17 that I had, and let's see if I already closed out of the hand. I'll pull
Honestly,
that
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it was multi-way. The pots, the stack to pot ratio is gonna be a smidge different because this is just a heads up scenario. We're also looking at straight 25. I could adjust it to 20 and it would be a little bit different, but if we look at just a pot size bet here, like 10, this is gonna be pretty close to the response. So like, some of your worst aces are still kind of like not too happy, but yeah, to your point, Ken, it's. You're just calling with most of them, just,
It was a 2/3 jam and my can's folding, right? Queen ten of hearts.
This Odin looks very similar to GTO Wizard.
it is basically GTO wizard, but
It's the
different.
early version, kind of.
It is. Yeah, this Odin was one of the first, softwares like this to market, then GTO wizard came around. It's very similar.
Yeah, I
But,
have to tell you, I think GTO Wizard is awesome. I think its interface is great. I would, and not now, but at some point, like to get somebody's insight in the best, if I'm using a cache version of it, the best configuration to try to get as close as possible to emulate a live game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a 50 NL rake structure and a 500 NL rake structure. Neither
Yeah,
of them
well,
are
it's
great.
never gonna be perfect for your live games because they only have heads up.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna go
I
as
would-
far as heads up, but I can show you on GTO Wizard all the options they have.
I would
And,
probably just, lean towards deeper stacks is probably gonna be more realistic.
Yeah, so this is mostly rake structure, the 50 NL and 500 NL. It's not the stack sizes. They are developing deeper stack sizes. It's really interesting at 50 NL. I mean, suited connectors is like almost not a thing pre-flop. It's weird, especially unless you're on the button.
Well, yeah, so like live games, you're not playing, 10 and L live. Like no one plays those games unless you're like at a house and I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone's optimizing, you know, Uncle
I
Fred's
sub-
home game ranges or whatever it may be. Like if you're going to like a card room or a casino, the floor is basically like 200, right? 200 NL, so. That rake structure would be what I would be trying to emulate.
He did jam.
Right. So I said so a couple things. One is my subscription is to the cash component, so it is not, you know, this. It's not the 20 blind and 30 blind. It's there's a series of them, but it's mostly 100 NL. I'm sorry, 100 big blinds. The 50 NL and 500 NL are rake structures, and it's interesting how different rake structures are for the online game between the
Right,
lower cap
so
and the higher cap on the rake.
you might be able to help me with that actually. Like I don't really understand too much about how the different rake structures are. Like, if we're talking like a live game, like, does a casino structure the rake different for like a 5-10 game than it does their 1-2 games?
Yeah, there are some are timed and some they rake every hand. And then when you move up, I think even at 2-5, it just might be timed every half hour. They take a certain amount.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
they
so in the Midwest, it's 10% with a $6 cap in most casinos.
That sounds familiar to me.
And then that's at 2-5, and at 5-10 in my casino, that goes to a time game.
Right, so, okay. Yeah.
So I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole. I just wanted to kind of put it out at some point. Maybe Louis, I'd get some insight into you.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah, it's something I'm curious about too.
Well, we can talk about it if you want. It's interesting. It was just really interesting when I looked at the 50 NL structure, where it's like, because it's 50 NL, the cap was multiples of the big blind. It was like 4 or 5 big blinds, which is huge. And that completely got rid of suited connectors, from any position. Like
Okay,
you're not playing 5-6 suited from UTG1 or, from the hijack. It's weird. I mean, there's a sliver, but
Yeah.
it's a really small sliver.
There's hardly any
interesting.
suited connectors on 50 and now I play that a lot, Josh.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, and it's really interesting.
I
Okay,
used to play them
so,
all at one time.
so where do we wanna go now, Louis?
Yes.
We have,
let's move
we have
on.
other hands we wanna check out.
It's up to you guys. I was talking with the Prince of GTO, who I think is Marcus Prince. He hopped by to check out what we were doing. And
Ah,
I
gotcha.
realized that I stacked him yesterday.
That's pretty funny. But, yeah, I don't know. We can look at some more hands. It's can kind of continue this theme, or we can always run some trainer if you guys want. It's whatever.
I'd really like to look into PKO tournaments.
The PKO
I agree.
tournament stuff is interesting, like, one, it's kind of like ICM in a way that every situation is unique to the circumstances. So you kinda, you really need to be able to be flexible and fluid based on the table dynamic. Like, are you covered by this guy? How big is that bounty? Do you have access to this bounty? Et cetera, et cetera. So like a tool that we really need to analyze those would be like, HRC. So I mean, we can kind of try to dive into one or two of those if somebody has an interesting PKO spot. The challenge is the more information we have, the better. So like, what stage of the tournament we're at, so how many people are left? The available bounties at the table, which we don't always know. Average chip stack is a useful thing that we sometimes just have to estimate. All of these components. But, yeah, I haven't saved any. I will definitely save some more.
I have a lot of them if you want. There's a lot of PKOs within review.
Yeah, definitely. We can try to tackle one if you guys want. Um, like I'm no expert at the PKO stuff. I've just kind of gone through some of the bit B material and try to apply it the best I can.
Okay, well, there's that 126 that I think I ran a little bit deep into. 6
Mhm.
hours for a turbo. Well, we can have a look.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I will say this about PKOs, as a starting point. Jonathan Little's, I think, MTT Masterclass later on offers up a spreadsheet that's available on his site again, as a starting point for how
Mhm.
that affects, I think, equities based on what PKO is available, what a bounty is available.
Right, yeah, there's from my understanding, there's like no best practice with it yet. I mean, there's a couple different schools of thought where like some people use equity models where they'll convert the bounties available to chips. And you can kind of run the calculations based off that. Other ones use these kind of corrective factors, so, they'll multiply it times whatever corrective factor. I guess for the stage of the tournament, or if you're covered, or a few other different variables like that. That's kinda how the bit B folks do it. Let me see if I can pull up that little sheet and I'll share it with you guys. They show it in one of their videos.
I'll refill my coffee.
So starts with a quarter of the starting stack, caps at 1/2 heads up. This is just some equity calculation stuff.
Josh.
So
Yes.
here,
I'm here.
Just a quick question for you. While James is sorting this stuff out. You finding the live cash games a lot easier than online?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm meaningfully profitable in the live game, and I can't win at 50 NL in Michigan. In Michigan, of all, I mean, like it's not even Euro sites. I'm
this
like,
is
I mean,
funny.
I'm not like losing my shirt or anything like that, but
You
it's
can't beat 50 NL online, you say, but live
yeah,
it's easy.
live is easy. I mean, it was really interesting. The pandemic, people opened the books during the pandemic, and so there's a lot
Mhm.
more knowledgeable players even in the casino. But
Yeah.
there's still a lot of people who just stumble in from the table games and stuff like that. And I can hold my own against even the guys who crack the books live.
Here, I'm gonna share
Okay.
something real quick. I'm not gonna hand it out because it's their material, but is my screen sharing right now? Can you guys see me?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
just quickly, are you saying it's more straightforward live then as well? The
Yeah,
playing.
significantly.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty typical, Barry. Like anything online is gonna be about a factor of 10 more difficult than
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, I
Right.
just wasn't sure whether it was like, what the big difference was, but you were saying it's more straightforward play,
It is
so to speak.
much more straightforward play. Yeah. It's
There's
much more.
no free betting going on basically, unless they've got it.
Well, again, as I said, the game has evolved. I mean, it is, much tougher than it was 5 years ago. And in my room there, at the 2-5, there's a fair amount of that kind of aggression, but it's still,
You're gonna
those guys kind of fall off on the turn and they become very honest.
yeah, you're gonna find way less studied people, Barry. You're gonna find more Joes and Bobs and Karens that just wanna have a beer and play cards.
Yeah.
Cause that's
Yeah,
what they do.
people like to go at the casino. They like sitting online is not fun, and online
Sitting in-
poker, cash,
Yeah,
it's extremely tough to beat.
people sitting online are there to make money. It's
Yeah.
straight.
I play online cash to get hands.
Yeah, you
And
can
then
get
because I
experience.
find it very difficult to record hands in the casino. I do, but I don't do it a lot.
Yeah,
Whereas you just go back to your, poker tracker and go over the hands and think about the spots and stuff like that.
yeah, it's a
But I
lot
will say
easier.
this, like I've had this discussion a lot with people, which is, and you got to study GTO to be a good poker player. But if you're not always asking yourself, and what's the exploit, you're wasting your time on because it's
Yeah,
100%
of course.
exploitative.
Yeah, I agree. Quickly back to the PKO stuff.
Yeah.
Without getting too deep into the math, this kind of gets you into like an earshot of where you need to be with your equity calculation. So based on the bounties, if someone has, or so number of starting bounties. So if somebody has picked up one bounty, roughly you need 5.4% less equity to make the call. And this kind of scales up linearly as you collect more bounties. So like, if someone, for instance, my example that we were kind of looking at earlier, the guy had, I mean, it was like 4 starting bounties. So like, we could extrapolate from this. I could have maybe what, a 16% equity, um, kind of, safety factor there, kind of a reduction. So when you're kind of looking at, I don't know if this calculation it extends to multi-way pots, how it does here, but if you making a decision to make a call off or something, this kind of gets you in the ballpark if you can kind of remember these. So just maybe 5% or so per starting bounty. So, if you got a hand that's only got 40% equity, you can make the call. That's gonna be like your king, queen offs or king, jack offs. Verse jams for 10 big blinds, stuff like that, maybe.
Okay, so when is it? Sorry, I was trying to get on my phone. When is
Yeah,
it that you are trying to get like a bunch of chips because in the Venom the other night I saw you jam like 30 bigs. Just
Mhm.
when you were hunting that guy to your right. What was
Right,
his name?
yeah. Yeah, so you, the people behind you, when they have you covered or they can hunt, they're going to be more incentivized to overcall and isolate behind you. Um, if they have the opportunity to do that. So often you'll see, I mean, it's not gonna check out. It's kind of an exploitive adjustment if someone's jamming a ton of big blinds to isolate. You're really just doing that to dissuade calls behind. And you get to do that more frequently when you put other people at risk. So if you're covering, if player A jams, your player B, you jam to cover, and then C, D, E behind you, you cover, you can jam more liberally because they are putting their chip stack at risk and they don't have the added benefit, the equity reduction to make wider calls, if that makes sense. Now, let's say like
Yeah.
player D covers everyone. He has the equity reduction from my bounty, the initial jammer's bounty, and any other jammer's bounty. So he needs increasingly less equity to make profitable calls, if that makes sense.
which was yeah, it does make sense, and it makes a lot of sense why the guy who had an orange, a wide reg, jammed. What was it? He jammed 150 bigs over that. Remember he scooped like 80 bigs.
Yeah.
With uncontested when I can't remember the entire hand, but it makes a lot of sense with what you're saying that why he did that, and he did it. He may have done it really wide, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And you start seeing that kind of stuff, like if you have 110 bounty, if you have 110 big blinds and you're facing 109 big blinds, your range looks pretty different. When there's bounties on the table. Compared to if you had 110 blinds and somebody has 111 blinds, like the margins are really kind of that thin. Cause the way this math works out,
Yeah.
being able to have access to that half of the player pool is very valuable. Is my understanding of
Yeah.
it.
So what Sam said last night in the chat was, when there's two bounties in line, you basically add a full stack for pot odds to figure out your pot odds. So he says that when there's two bounties, you're adding your full stack in, or a full stack to the pot odds because of the bounties. Is
Right,
what he said, something along.
Right, and that's another way people kind of go about calculating this stuff. So
If it's a starting bounty and it's on the beginning of the tournament, this is the case.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's not correct, this sentence.
Right, that's how some people go, that's another way some people go about calculating this stuff. So um, they'll convert bounties to chips. And they'll do pot odds calculations based off of that, I think is how that kind of works. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Um, this school of thought right here that these guys go about is kind of, my understanding and how I've been trying to go about this.
Okay.
But,
I
Well,
had
it can't be done.
yeah, I had
It can't be bad
calculated.
because
Yeah, I had calculated the other day just how much the value of chips of a chip changes as the tournament progresses on a bounty tournament.
mhm.
And I had found you are more incentivized to bounty hunt when the switch from 25 to 50% of the pool is leaving the player pool. So
Yeah,
when 25, so you're not incentivized so much to bounty hunt at let's say before ICM ICM model starts
Yeah, I think what
appearing.
you're saying is
Yeah,
like, there's an inflection point at some point
yeah,
that
exactly.
flips
Yeah,
when
yeah.
when
It's
a
the,
portion of that bounty pool is no longer available. Like the chips start
yeah,
becoming more valuable than the bounty, so you're incentivized to gamble less.
yeah. That's when the ICM factor starts getting in place. There is this point, but what
Right.
I'm saying here is when the ICM factor is not has not appeared. Let's say I found out that when at least in most bounty tournaments, you are more incentivized to bounty hunt at when 25% of the player pool is gone at the exact time of for example, let's say there are 180 play 80 sorry 1800 players and there
Mhm.
are 1300 left. Then until let's say 2000 are in the tournament and 1100 left, so the point between 25 and 45% is when you are more incentivized to bounty hunt. It means that the value of the chips in regard to as a ratio to the increase of the value of the chips
Mhm.
is lower than the increase of the value of the bounty prize pool. You get what I mean?
Yeah, they're definitely intertwined. I understand. And that kind of stuff is what makes, trying to look
Yeah,
at this stuff kind of difficult, you know?
Yeah.
But, Louis, you got a spot here, man?
yeah,
Well,
I'm watching this, Louis.
this is the 126 I played yesterday,
Yeah.
so it's a bounty. So I thought we could
So
start.
the
looking
ace
at it.
nine suited was a call, Louis, wasn't it? I see you looking at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it gets
And just
difficult
to,
Ace 10 was a raise, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Pre-flop.
yeah.
So before we get like too deep into that, there's other factors that kind of play into that with your pre-flop ranges. Um, your PKO ranges don't necessarily reflect chip EV ranges and they don't necessarily reflect 100% ICM ranges. They're gonna be very variable based on your specific spot. If you cover someone, you should be three betting wider. You should be calling wider.
Do
If
you
you're
call it,
covered
do you call it triple barrel here?
here,
Mhm.
uh.
I think we fold a lot of triple barrels here.
Half pot, half pot, half pot.
Alright, so what
I
I'm
like your
looking at,
call.
I'm looking here. And if we lose this pot, how does it change your dynamic at the table? You lose the ability to hunt your big blind and the guy to his left. And you're basically the short stack at this point. So I think there is a lot of value tied up in this one bet right here. And I would be probably folding here.
Okay,
so what's the bottom of your calling range then? We're continuing.
I would want to have some interaction that's blocking the straight or the flush. So ace, jack, maybe with the jack of clubs, I would be calling. As a naked ace, I think would probably be towards the bottom of what I'm calling here, maybe.
I
I
kind of
think
think the same thing.
I thought my opponent was out of line.
Now, the one thing, okay, so he doesn't cover you. So, I don't think he's incentivized to absolutely go bananas here. Considering you do cover him. The weird merged half pot size is kind of odd though, right? Like, if he had the tip top of his range, I would imagine he would be either betting much larger.
Yeah, but our opponent is a 37-23.
Oh, this guy's a maniac. Yeah, he's wild. So you can't read too much into it, I think.
He's mostly barreling every time.
So if that's the case, then winning this pot gives you 80 bigs and puts you to stack anyone except the 115 at the table.
Yeah, and that's fair, Peter. That's the other side of the coin, right?
Yeah, I
That's
think you got
definitely that's the other side of the coin.
If there's one guy I can call triple barrel off, it's definitely him, 37. So, okay.
his widest position on the button.
Yeah.
I guess
Makes
with regard to
sense, Louis.
this specific player, ED7 is, I mean, he's got all the same considerations. So like he knows his stack's at risk against you. Why
Right.
would he do this without
So,
strong hand?
right, and you kinda have to you should tailor his range accordingly, right? So he's opening up into covering stacks. Which means there is no hunting opportunities here. For him, which is gonna it should tighten up his range. Some. I mean, it's a button range, so he's incentivized to play the steal from the blinds game. But,
And
yeah,
it's an
I
ace on
don't,
the flop, so he's always
He
gonna
should
bet.
be, but
I
he should
guess
be
my-
relatively tight. Being
My
it's a
Tighter.
question
bounty.
here is he ever bluffing with a better hand? Is he
I
ever
feel like,
turning a hand like ace of clubs, 10 of diamonds or something like that into a bluff?
see, those are pure value in my
Um,
mind.
I mean, normally in this spot, we get to call two streets with top pair, don't we?
He's
And fold out a
definitely
lot of the
supposed to
time.
blast worst aces and then he has some bluffs. Sure, sometimes I run into the flush. But sometimes he has a bluff. And this
Yeah.
guy, I'm not sure if he has more than the sim because the sim is going for it here.
I was gonna say, if we're digging
that-
into the theoretical side of things, I don't know how much I like the 9. Just because of how that interacts with the floor of his opening range, typically like in a chippy V worlds. Like I almost feel like, calling like an ace 5, I would feel would be better than. Or like equally
think there
valuable
was-
as an ace 9.
I think there
Well,
was
it's true. Look at the
a,
AV.
Sarah
32
order
for
as
ace
well.
5. And then,
Does ace 5 have 2 pair though?
But
Yeah.
ace 4 has
It's
30.
the-
Wow.
okay, so it's because it's 2 pair, but ace 4 still does a lot better. Or
Yeah.
ace 7.
Well,
So
yeah, and
the
that's just
8 or the
because,
9 is the worst, basically, and the jack.
right. Yeah, and I think that's just because of how it interact. It's ace jack's kind of interesting. I guess we want him to be able to bluff jacks to really make this profitable.
Very interesting. So having a 9 in my hand here is bad, but this guy's just too loose.
Yeah, see, and that's fair. Now, like, to Peter's credit here, you can probably make a note about that guy, cuz he's not really adjusting to his environment. And, you're in a great scenario now, cuz you cover the majority of the people at your table and you have access to that portion of the prize pool now.
What I like here, Louis, is if this was an opponent you didn't know, right? Who you thought was playing GTO, you would probably fold to the triple barrel. So really, you've just exploited this guy with the HUD.
If this guy triple, like somebody is nitty, like if this guy triple barrels me, I'm folding the flop. If he bets
That
the
guy's a
flop
3. If he bets the flop, you can fold.
against some opponent, I just flop fold.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, against a more GTO opponent other than this guy here, you could probably still get away after 2 streets.
I feel like that guy was flying the Brazilian flag. He triples for half pot, triples for half pot, and he's got air like that. Yeah,
I think the opponent was from Asia.
Asia. Okay, alright.
Do you see that here?
It's not multi-way. I mean, I'm probably just checking. Well, I don't know. Okay, so like an adjustment,
I'm never checking.
adjustment
I'm going
here. Well,
protection all the way.
so like generally out of position, you should be playing a pretty heavy check game generally. And, I don't know if protection's kind of the right lens to look at it through, because if he's got a better hand, you can't really protect yourself from a hand that's calling, regardless of what you do.
What
I
to
like
bet big?
checking.
Bet big, I just fold.
Yeah,
Or do I?
I was gonna say, I think you probably wanna continue just cuz you got a lot of clean cards on the turn. You interact pretty well with this board, but, um, yeah, I was just thinking like the adjustment you might wanna make because you cover him. I don't know if you would necessarily just wanna bet more frequently on the flop, you know? Apply more pressure, lower
Want to
SPR,
see what the wizard says, whether the
et
wizard
cetera.
likes to bet the flop there.
Unfortunately, the wizard's not gonna really be representative of this spot because of the bounties in play. And honestly, we don't know what the guy's bounty is either, so we don't know how aggressively we should be pressuring this fellow.
That's right.
But I mean, it's so deep, it's gonna be hard to stack them. So,
Well, yeah, so check raise might be a more efficient way of, piling chips in.
but yeah, I
That
don't
be the
think this hand,
case.
like this hand's a clear marginal made hand with the ability to turn high value straight draws. So
Yes.
I think this is a very easy check call.
Yeah,
Even against
I like your approach, Peter. I think I'm gonna. I think I like check calling here a lot more.
I
I
don't mind
mean,
check calling so much with the heart if we got one.
Yeah,
But
here
as we
I'm not
haven't got a
afraid
heart,
of
I prefer to bet this hand.
I'm not
I'm
afraid of a
just,
big bet either.
villain also is gonna have some over pairs to our sixes that he's flatting here too. Which
Yeah.
is like something, you know, you're talking about protecting, your equity kind of here. By betting, um, a high card coming off sometimes is gonna be your friend in this scenario. Like if he flats eights here. And you don't get you don't get a Broadway card, you might just be losing 40 big blinds, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
like
just like to bet, and if he calls or he floats, just get away from it.
No,
I
it's a
don't.
check.
It's
Yeah.
more checking.
when
I
we
like
when we
checking.
when we float when we float this bet here and an ace, a king, or a queen turns, it's really gonna be an action killer because we're gonna float with a lot of ace, king, ace, king, queen here. So
That's exactly
Mhm.
what I thought.
we're gonna get there for free.
In these
Yep.
kind of scenarios, when it comes to betting strategy, my strategy is to be polar, lots of checking, and when I bet, it's betting big.
Yeah, I
His,
think that's
his
correct out of
strategy for
position.
end position, he's checking half of the time and he's betting small halves of the time. He doesn't really have any big bets. So that was my guess. And it's very well reflected here. He doesn't have any big bets. His biggest bet size is 33%. So he's just
Yeah,
betting small.
right. I was gonna say, I think if there are hands that he could maybe adjust and go larger with, it may be like gut shot, flush drawy type wheels.
I
And
thought
maybe
like
like eights
pocket
and
eight,
His
nines.
pocket
best
nine,
bluffs.
maybe.
Yeah, pocket eights,
His
pocket
best
nines.
bluffs. And his
Yeah.
low flushes as polarized.
Alright. So I call.
Yeah, I think this is fine. And see, this card's good. I think the queen is good for you. Just because. One, it's going to allow you to get away from the hand very easily if you continue getting aggression, and it's gonna kill the action like it did right there. So you're blocking the straight value here. With the exception of ace deuce, you can block bet here. And, you're gonna be able to realize equity very easily, I think. You don't have to worry about a big polarized bluff.
Alright, so bet big with the queens, bet small with second pair and third pair.
Yeah, I think it's
Never
good.
bet with the, never bet with ace high. It's like the
Yeah,
rules of thumb for when the turn goes check, check, basically. So I did not find the bet here, alright.
So now you're kind of in a tough spot cuz I like the bluff catch, but it's a larger bet. And, I think you could have got the showdown for maybe half of that price. Or you could have just got you know, a fold. Yeah,
Mixing,
I think,
zero EV
is,
call.
right, so our villain needs to have bluffs, and he does have a bluff. So, yeah, good.
He played the 9-10 quite well on the flop with his big bet, didn't he?
No,
My
it's
question,
just betting small on the flop.
what I wonder is,
But
is he supposed
this
to
is one of
actually
his
bluff
best
this
bluffs though,
combo?
right?
I see, I don't think you wanna be blocking front door hearts with a river bluff. The 9-10's probably fine. It's like the bottom of, what you got, but I think, if it is bluffing, it would probably rather bluff small on the river, huh? I don't know. What do you think? What does it say, Louis? For his node,
He's going big.
is he bluffing this combo big?
Yeah, no, he's mostly checking it back, but it's so dependent. Hearts are checking.
Right, so hearts are bad because if we're blocking hearts, we're really gimping the range that we need him to fold, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
he's
that's
mixing
kinda,
between two sizes.
yeah, I can see that.
Alright,
And it likes a small bet on the flop by him with that particular hand and Louis.
yeah,
See, you covering here, Louis, I'm gonna play this aggro, aggro, aggro.
what if this guy jams?
Calling him off.
Okay, well, see, you're making a tough okay, you could set the trap with eights. But I don't know if you're gonna want what you're getting out of it, because if the 50 big blind stack jams over that, you gotta call.
Well, let me tell you how I see this scenario. What's the best case scenario that can happen with my eights?
You
For me,
scoop.
it's I get an 8 on the flop and I'm playing a pot with as much players as I can. Right? I mean, it's late position versus late position, so it's probably a high frequency three bet. But the way I
Yeah.
see it, if I flat here, I leave the room for small blind to jam. And then good things can happen. And then also they could all flat and I hit an 8, that would be fantastic. So let's see what I do. Yeah,
And you
see
can
that? I
still
just
call a
flat.
free bet from the big blind in position.
Yeah. And it works.
See, this is nerve wracking, okay? So now what if he jams? You gotta call that. You can't fold that. You've
This
capped
guy
If
yourself.
the big blind
definitely,
jams,
this
The
guy plays
original-
40% of hands, so I cannot fold to him.
No,
I
you
cover
can't fold.
both.
You've also put a stronger hand. Now you gotta jam. I would just jam over
Yeah.
the top of that. You gotta
Yeah,
jam. You've put a stronger, oh, you folded. Wow. See, I like this a lot less
Miller.
now. I would have preferred a 3-bet fold.
yeah.
I would have jammed, I would have
I would
jammed
have
over. I
jammed
mean,
as well. I don't know why I fold here.
this is if this is a PKO, like, you need to be exerting some dominance. I mean, you got access to both of these. I'm curious
Is
what the run out was.
Is the
Yeah.
small blind the nets?
I think this
Maybe
call
there
on the
was
cutoff's a
ICM
bit
here.
frightening.
Maybe so, maybe so.
The cutoff's call is a bit frightening as well, though, isn't it?
Oh, boy.
When he
I'm
when he
dodging
cold calls
bullets,
there, Louis.
baby.
Oh, boy, you are dodging bullets.
I'm a genius. I so read that guy.
Yep, I would.
Yeah, that was a
Call.
huge cold call from him.
Is the small blind pretty nitty here in your head, Louis?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah, I don't even care about
Right.
that, Peter. I would, he could have a 0-0-0 and I'm rumbling with eights versus that guy.
I'm dodging bullets.
You are dodging bullets. That was,
I didn't like that. I didn't like it when he cold called 18. I would have chucked the eights as well. I know his stats he was playing 40%, but
easy call. You could even jam that, I think. You pick up, I don't know, man.
I don't know. What do you mean? I have to fold.
You picked up equity.
I have to fold.
Oh, man. If that was the 4 of clubs, I'm all in.
LP, you folded those 8s back there. Did you do it by mistake or did you do it because of small blind? What?
I
Why
so
did you
read the
fold those
guy.
8s?
I knew he had.
made
Yeah,
a
my-
well,
sick
I'm calling
cold call.
bullshit on that.
I looked at the guy and I could tell he really liked his hand.
Did you look at his face?
No, I looked at the avatar.
Yeah, the avatar gives it away. You gotta get those avatar reads.
Man, this
Yeah,
is
Louis
Louis
has-
is the master of soul reading against the internet.
Yeah, if Louis hesitated with his eights for a little while and then made the call and then both of them just snap jammed, maybe you can get rid of it.
You gotta size up that avatar.
I'm a net now.
Good, you gotta embrace the net.
Okay,
Hey,
call
Louis.
from the button. Multi-way. Yes, Josh?
The anonymous villains here, these numbers, is it anonymous when you're playing or just on the replayer?
No, just on the replayer.
I got it.
I think that's just how the hands import.
Think I call once here at
Mm.
least.
You got an
Ooh,
open ender, man. You gotta call.
You also have the over straight too, so
Got a bet here.
Man,
gotta see
I
the
thi-
pot.
So, I'm torn, to be honest. I'm torn because you kind of cap yourself to, a 10 here if the board texture changes on the river, right? And you kind of remove all of his bluffs. So, I mean, I don't know. What's he doing with ace jack if you bet here? He's gotta just fold it, right?
Think he calls?
I think you
No,
got to
I'm-
bet small and keep him in.
Yeah, 1/3 pot.
Let's see
Very
what I
easy
did.
1/3.
In fact, yeah,
I
I
cut.
like the
I like
size, Louis, because
Too
we don't
big.
have a spade. We don't have a
Yeah.
spade, so maybe this is good.
I think
So
at
with
this point,
this-
I'm trying to bounty hunt.
Yeah, I don't mind this. The only problem with this is if he ever improves, this just gets him a double up. Like, you're never getting away from a river card when you make this bet.
Yeah, can I ask you a question about like PKO and study? Like when you're looking at these replayers, do you have an insight into the size of their bounties?
No,
No.
unfortunately not. That's why that's why they're kinda hard to study, right? Like, you gotta take decent notes at the time. Otherwise, you have to
Yeah.
make some really generalized assumptions about the scenario.
Yeah, there was a comment in here in the chat about, small bounty hunting, and I mean, I think it's really compelling. I mean, when it gets to be large, doing what Louis did makes sense, but folding out the equity, if it's small, probably makes sense, right? Against the flush draw when you have the straight.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what you did do though, Louis. You did bet big without the spades like we were talking about the other day.
Yeah,
Oh my god, you luck box.
They're just giving him chips, Sam.
are you guys battling in the streets? Like see betting here, we
I
call.
like it. I like barreling here again.
I don't
Bout-
like barreling here because the flush cards is too good
I-
for the big blind.
Yeah, I don't think this is a good barrel.
So
Okay.
if you're not barreling,
That's the only-
if you're not barreling
It's the only thing.
here, you're gonna get robbed on the river 100% of the time.
But there's no point in barreling here because he's gonna have way more flushes. Jack,
You get-
ace.
You get
It's
ace
jack,
X, you get
ace,
trashy,
10.
you get trashy ace X to fold. You get queen X to fold. Like, you think if you barrel half pot there on the turn, he's not folding that?
I don't think he's folding this hand, no.
Who knows?
I
Like it,
honestly don't
'cause he
think.
picked
I
up
honestly
equity,
don't
I think
think.
you can barrel again.
I can put myself in Mr. 87B shoes there, and if I'm facing two barrels and there's a four liner with a 3 flush, I'm probably letting ace deuce
Yeah, but
suited.
that's you folding though. Maybe he's a Brazilian and they don't fucking fold. You need to put
People
that
are
last
not as
bet
good as
in.
you.
What I also think, Louis, is that turning this hand into a double barrel bluff on the turn is probably the best play.
Yeah, you
Because we're
almost
not
have
gonna
no
win at showdown.
val.
We haven't got enough showdown value with the bottom pair here.
Well, that's
Yeah.
kinda my thought with the double barrel there. Like, you get really clean information on the turn.
So 0%
And if-
check on the flop.
Yeah, yeah.
So button
gonna
bets,
barrel
what,
again.
small, 33?
This is like a hand where your bottom pair has gotten double counterfeit by the double over pair.
Yeah, and you're
You have no
bluffing it
ability to
essentially.
show down and win here.
Yeah, that's
No,
kinda how
you're
I'm
not gonna
playing
win
this
barrel.
game.
I don't think the fact that this hand has no showdown value, we should
Yeah. So we
bet
turn
the
this one
turn, I
into a
guess.
bluff probably.
I mean, if that's the logic, then we should turn like 8-5 of spade into a bluff every single time. We're just way bluffing way too much.
If you got pocket fives on an 8-8-9-9 board, you're blasting. So what is it saying? What does it want to do here?
9-10.
It wants to
What
check,
note are we
right?
at?
Green is check.
Green's call.
So that's his calling range, and the jack of clubs now.
I bet it's low frequency bet, high frequency check.
Well, look at this leading.
Yeah, he should be leading a ton on that card because he has way more flushes than we do.
See, I see some big bet numbers there.
50-50.
I see some bet numbers there.
50-50.
9-10 bets more than checks though.
I would say
Alright,
that's a solid 70-30-60-40.
alright,
Yeah,
I
I
missed
like
the
it.
double barrel, alright.
Like all of your
Hey,
hands that have
before,
real equity are queen jack, queen 10, jack 10. You have so many of those that can check that this becomes a bluff.
my last question is if you do barrel, is he folding aces? Ace X, like trash ace X for like a small size, yeah.
I
so-
think we need to look at tens and jacks first.
Okay, yeah, probably so. Yeah, he's
Tens
not
are
folding an
folding.
ace.
No
Tens-
aces is folding. Nothing.
That's insane. I am
But-
folding.
But Sam, to your argument, he's not a solver. He may not be that good, man. He may be like
He might not be.
super net.
Alright, so when
I
we
am
double
folding
barrel
aces like
here,
paper mache.
we get worse queens to fold and we get almost every jack to fold. So that's pretty good. We get his queens off, his jacks off.
Maggie aces.
So it's pretty good. It's a very good double barrel. So I'm too cautious when the flush comes and I'm against the big blind.
So
But-
some of the coaching that I had, Louis, this right here was just a leak in my game is the only reason I'm super critical of this one node. Where I was playing a lot of bet, flop, check turn, and I was just losing pots that I could have stole on the turn.
Yeah,
Like there was a lot of that going on. And, the adjustment that I was to make is when like. Cards come that represent your range better, or they narrow like their continuing range. And just make it kind of difficult because people overfold. There's more value in playing these types of spots aggressively. Like, to what we were saying, like, he's not gonna be calling and defending at like GTO frequencies always. So the general heuristic is people are overfolding, just
Well, and I
across
think that, I
all
think the,
platforms.
yeah, the bigger comment is they're overfolding turn. I mean, people kind of know this C bet's a thing, so they expect it and they look you up, but then they get really honest on the turn.
Yeah, Josh, that's true. Like the turn responses are generally more honest than the flops. So it's like when he's got like, I don't know, queen, we'll say if he's got jack, jack 9 or jack 6 of hearts or something, he's just gonna be like stuck on that turn. There's so much they're gonna have to let go of.
What's the sizing on the turn? What's the general sizing on the turn?
I think it was using a smaller sizing. It wasn't polarizing, and that's because of the nature of the board, I think. Like you do,
33.
you,
Like it's either 33 or 20%.
so I bet
Yeah.
small, yeah.
On the turn?
yeah, it's because there's a 4-liner with a 3 flush. It's super dynamic board still. I like this. Alright, see, this is a spot where I'm double barreling. I'm
Mhm.
firing again here. And like my
You know
previous
what?
iteration,
I don't like this flop bet because I got king eye. I can check.
You probably could. I'm like just erring 100% on the side of aggression here. The
Yeah.
fact that you
Oh.
have the 10 of hearts, I don't even care that
Yeah,
you have a king. I just have the 10 of hearts. And it's like, it interacts too well with the board, so I'm just gonna bet one here. And then when the heart
I'm
comes in on the
probably check.
turn, I'm
I'm
polarizing.
probably check raising this hand.
So yeah, that might be biting off a bit more than I wanna be chewing. I don't know if I wanna be, playing check raise here.
One overcard, backdoor flush draw, and a gut shot to the straight draw. I'm check raising this one.
8-9.
I think that's what it was, yeah. It's either, yeah, 7-8, 7-8.
Checking,
It is checking, huh?
checking.
So
No,
it's
I did
definitely
that.
checking.
Yeah, king eye, I
I
can
wonder if
check.
there's any raising.
Checking like 90% of the time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
nope. No raising.
No
back
check
there.
raising.
No,
No
Yeah.
check raising.
Yeah, and the blind versus blind honestly is something I personally need to spend more time on. I could
here
be
it
playing,
comes. When the ace of heart comes on the turn, now I should either check. Or now I can start to bet the king of hearts.
I see.
And it's not the 10, it's the hearts. King of hearts. So we don't have the king of hearts here, so we should check.
There was
guess it
not
just
check
wants to-
raising wasn't a thing on the flop. They were saying.
Nope. And then this
Right.
happens. Now I'm just gonna have to bet, right?
Yeah.
You
he
got a
bet
good
the
bluff
value.
catcher, Louis.
No way, Barry. People don't bluff enough on the river. You should never rely on them bluffing the river.
Yeah, I think the
And
10,
here is-
I think
he's
the
calling
10 of
with
hearts is
like, he
good.
has like, he's the big blind. If he has the 3 of hearts, he's gonna call. You know, he's gonna find calls.
I think he's
Okay.
calling every heart here. I
Yeah.
mean, it went check, 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 check all the way to the river. He's calling every heart. He should be.
But he's also
Does the
never
solver
check.
bet?
He's also never checking a heart on the river though, if you check to him.
That's right.
I'd like to see. I'd like to see if the solver checks the river there. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna check.
Good. I'm not sure. I would probably just be betting personally.
Your check, Barry.
Your check.
I'm not even betting. I should not bet with the 10 of hearts. So king of spade, 10
No.
of heart, this one.
Oh, right. I guess you can just get blown off your equity, huh?
Yeah. So when I
I
check.
think it's amazing how much the solver actually checks a lot of hands on the river.
That's why. When we check this river, he's supposed to go nuts with half of his range or so. Or
Yeah, you gotta
30%.
give him he's gonna take a bluff at it.
Every
gonna-
heart.
You're gonna
Okay.
cooler a lot of his hearts, which he would call your bet with. And you're gonna catch his bluffs as well.
Right. Instead of opening yourself up to just, getting blown off your equity. I think the check call is probably the better.
Yeah, like heaven help you if you ever, goes 2.5 times pot there and you have the 10.
You cry. You just cry.
I think we're supposed to check there. I wouldn't be surprised if we're supposed to check there with the nuts. Have a look. Do we check with the king of hearts, Louis?
On the river, Barry.
Yeah,
We
because I
don't
think
check
the
with-
solver's gonna go for a check raise with the king of hearts.
No, it bets the river.
Okay.
Because it doesn't mind if the guy wants to bluff you.
Should I just call here?
I was just thinking about that, Louis. So the way I mentally approach these is one, the guy has got 15 big blinds under the gun. He's opening into a table he doesn't cover. So not
He's strong.
only is it under the gun range, not only does he
Yeah.
have a tight HUD, not only does he not cover anybody. Like this should be a tighter than tight under the gun range. It should be very
Yeah,
tight.
this is gonna stack off. I wouldn't even slow play it.
So I would not mind doing this. for that reason. Now if I was in earlier position and you had more squeeze opportunities behind, I would be way more incentivized to flat this hand. Like if you were under the gun one or one of those, I'm flatting this 100% of the time because someone is gonna wanna greed, I think,
Yeah,
more than,
Yeah, especially in a PKO.
right? But when you're in late position, I don't wanna incentivize the blinds just to call.
That guy super min raise you.
yeah.
Oh,
No, he
you
limped
min-
and I'm in raised.
Limp min raise.
Oh no, I raised under the gun.
Okay, you raise under the gun, he
Okay, yeah,
calls.
that's better.
Easy bet. Call. I'm basically done with the pot at this point.
Me too.
Yeah, you're taking king high to show down.
This is a give up.
Yeah.
We don't give up very often.
Well, not from under the gun. Like our range is so big there.
See, this I'm jamming.
Is this at chip EV? This is a jam at chip EV.
King
I
jack
like jam.
suited is king jack off
Yeah.
a jam?
I think from late
I
position
think
it
it is a chip
probably
EV at that
is.
stack
We
there.
can check. I just like jamming that hand because it does really well, 5 cards.
I'm
Doesn't
not
do,
opening this.
What position was it in, Louis?
Cut off
here, hold on, hold on.
15 bigs.
I'll check. 15
Shit.
bigs, cut off,
12
RFI.
bigs.
It's not even
12 bigs.
15. He only has 12. This is just a straightforward jam.
It's
Yeah,
easy.
12.
It's an easy jam. King 10 offsuits jamming, Jack 10 offsuits jamming, Queen Jack offsuits jamming. Like yeah, you're
King
jamming.
5 suited jamming.
King 5
They're
suited is
calling,
not
they're
jamming in my mind.
calling you
12
with like
bigs from-
King Jack, Jack 10 and like King 9. They're calling with all bunch
On
of stuff.
this, I've got 12 bigs in the cutoff, King 5 suited plus and King 10 off plus jamming.
Yeah, but
I
we're
see
getting
at-
late.
at chip EV.
We're getting late in the game now. We're in the money for
That's,
sure.
Barry,
And
those are
Okay.
interesting ranges. I got 12.5 big blind ranges and that's pretty drastically different from what I'm looking at.
I'm only looking at push and fold charts for chip EV.
I see. Yeah,
So
mine,
if it's ICM, obviously it's different.
You don't want to give him the one big blind?
I would see, this is where I would be breaking out the one big blind here. I would just be asking him to call.
Yeah, that would have been a good spot for it. Right,
Yeah, I'm not opening this one.
Well, look, okay, big blind's only got 4 big blinds. I don't hate jamming this.
Yeah.
I don't wanna min raise it, man, cuz I feel like you're inviting disaster.
You get a gift.
But
I didn't
you,
put it in.
you get lucky right here. Like everyone else just doesn't want a piece of it. You get a horrible board.
there's no way I win, right?
No way. Yeah. It's like, that's like the
Ooh.
worst board ever. I don't hate this. I like this. I also don't hate limping. I would just jam this. Now you gotta call, right? You can't fold. Oh, bink, bink, bink.
Scam.
Pocket
Oh
tens.
my goodness,
Oh
that was
my
the
gosh.
game.
That was the one you showed me. That was like the scam of scams.
That guy's
Alright.
got to go out and buy a new mouse today.
Yeah, he's very upset about his Sunday from that one hand.
Yeah.
See, I'm close to calling here too, man. I think, if you're late in the tournament, I'm probably folding. If that guy's got a big bounty.
Big
And it's not
bounty and late in the tournament.
late in the tournament, it's close, dude.
How active is he?
Normal player.
He's more than half your chips
Mm.
from an early position. I think he can fold that. He's opening into guys who
Yeah.
have 70 and 30.
Yeah,
It
but
might
he's
be a
also
bit
too,
jamming, dude.
It's a bit too loose.
Oh knows.
You're gonna get him though. No, you're not. JK.
It's a punt, Louis. It's a punt.
See, we thought about that about my hand and it wasn't as punty as we thought. See that, Louis, if you had more information on that hand, that would be an interesting spot to run.
The ace time?
Yeah, just to see how close it actually is. I'm leaning fold, but it may not be that bad.
Ken, are you
Especially since-
around?
I think it's gonna say ace queen suited.
Oh, dude, it's definitely wider than ace queen suited.
I'm gonna say ace queen suited. That's what I'm
You
gonna
can't,
say.
you can't say it, Barry. You can't say it. It's gonna be way wider.
Barry. It's way too
It's gonna
tight.
be, it's gonna be way wider.
The bounty.
I
there's
need.
no way.
When I'm talking, I'm calling with a lot more pairs. But I think aces. I think it's only calling the biggest ones
Oh, did you
against
see
this
that?
early position jam.
Did you see our HRC model that we ran earlier?
Maybe not GB. I don't know if I saw that.
Well, from in this position, do you think he's open ripping ace nine suit, ace nine off here?
I think hands he's ripping. I think he's ripping his maybe jack king suited, his king queen offsuits, maybe his pocket eights, pocket nines.
Yep.
I think he's got a large component of his range that we're doing very well against. Maybe his ace five suited.
Well, we're not doing super great against pocket eights, nines, and tens though, right? And
Yeah,
he
but when you're
also-
flipping and he has a big bounty, if he shows you pocket eight, you're supposed to call.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
like how many
I would
worse
agree.
aces is he ripping than ours? Like
Oh, I agree,
he's-
like the
he's
nine.
supposed to, yeah, he's even supposed to rip like jack 10 suited.
I think it's
Fine
all
to rip.
relative to the size of the bounty here. For a min bounty, I think it's a easy
Yeah,
step.
if it's a
away.
min bounty, then fold it. But if
For
he
a
has
big
giant
one, I think
bounty-
we have to rumble.
Right,
Yeah.
this is where it gets difficult to analyze PKOs.
Yeah.
Like, you could, he could be playing face up. And you could see that he's jamming ace jack here, but his bounty could make it where the math works out where you're still calling.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you may only
totally.
need 30% equity here. Like, you're showing up with 30% there, and that may be plenty to justify a call there if his bounty is big enough.
yeah, if his bounty pounder is like 4 or 5, yeah.
That's
I mean,
that's bounty for you. Get it in bad and suck out when they have a big bounty. That's what it is, dude. I'm telling you.
suck and blow is how Sunday goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Alright,
How well are we running?
so that's how I made $1,000.
Nice.
Basically. One of them had a big bounty. Alright. So I think
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna
wouldn't-
wrap it up for today.
Yeah, sounds good.